Chapter 409, How dare these people bully Xiao Wu like this? Feng Wu was a level 9 spiritual master at the moment. The difference in their capabilities wasn't that significant, and Feng Wu was confident that she could defeat Feng Sang in an instant. Hence, she gave Feng Sang a half-smile. So, what do you think I should do, my dear sister? After how rude and defiant you were toward my parents, Feng Wu, you deserve this. With that, Feng Sang raised a hand to slap Feng Wu. Imperial College had indeed taught her well. Her strike was quick, accurate, and effective. Feng Wu also saw something glinting between Feng Sang's fingers. Sister. Feng Xiaoqi opened his eyes wide and cried out. Smack. There came the crisp sound of a slap. However, the looks on the faces of Lady Wang and the rest were replaced with astonishment. How dare you bully Xiao Wu like this? Yu Mingyue slapped Feng Sang so hard that she spun around on the spot. So that crisp sound was from Yu Minji slapping Feng Sang, not Feng Sang slapping Feng Wu. For a moment, all was quiet. Lady Wang was the first to cry out. Who are you? Feng Wu, who is this man? Yu Minji was so intimidating that Feng Yangfeng and his family were all shaken. However, Lady Wang's concern for her daughter overpowered her fear, and she was the first to rush to Feng Sang's side. Feng Sang had a wild and unyielding air about her. She stared at Yu Minji with a vicious look in her eyes, as if she was going to tear him to pieces. He had slapped her. No one had treated her like that before. One more look and I'll squeeze your eyeballs out. Yu Minji might be a lamb in front of Feng Wu, but he wouldn't restrain himself one bit around anyone else. After all, he was Yu Minji, the teenager as famous as Jun Linyuan. Feng Sang snorted. Listen to that arrogant voice. Feng Wu, is that your lover? I didn't know one could get a lover at your age, you slut. Smack. Before Feng Wu could react, Yu Minji slapped Feng Sang once more. He was pretty happy to be called Feng Wu's lover, but calling Feng Wu a slut was the worst choice Feng Sang made today. Yu Minji would never allow anyone to insult Feng Wu like that. Hence, he slapped her. How can you hit a woman? Feng Yiran had met Yu Minji before, but he didn't know who the latter was. Since his own younger sister was being beaten up, Feng Yiran had no choice but to step out. Yu Minji smirked. Why can't I hit a woman? With what she said, she deserves more than 2 slaps. Well, it's your turn now. Feng Wu could kick Yu Mingyue around and he would take it with pleasure. However, to everyone else, he was the sacred son of the Dark Court, and Feng Yiran was nothing in comparison. Feng Yanfeng was furious. Did everyone think that they could do whatever they wanted to the Feng clan just because they weren't what they used to be? He wouldn't let this random teenager have his way. Feng Yiran, take care of him. Poor Feng Yanfeng. He had no idea that the defiant teenager was Yu Minji, whose capability was second only to Jun Linyuan. He shouted his command at his son. Feng Yiran cast a stern look at Feng Wu before turning to Yu Minji. Well, how about we go outside? Outside? Everyone here had picked on his Xiao Wu, and Yu Minji was just going to kick Feng Yiran's ass. Yu Minji's fist was in Feng Yiran's face before the latter could finish his sentence. Feng Yiran's eyes widened in fear. Chapter 410, K.O. Yu Minji struck. Thump. 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 As someone who was almost as famous as Jun Linyuan, Yu Minji was anything but weak. And Feng Yiran? He was a mere novice spiritual grandmaster. Therefore it was more like a slaughter than a fight. Thump. 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 Feng Yiran kept falling back as Yu Minji closed in. Moreover, Yu Minji had the habit of aiming at his opponent's face. Every strike of his landed on Feng Yiran's face. Slap, slap, slap. The crisp sounds resonated in the room. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Hadn't Yu Minji left? What was he doing here? Her plan was to gather some experience in real combat here so as to raise herself to the spiritual grandmaster stage. It seemed that she had been deprived of that opportunity. Thud. Yuminji slapped Feng Yiran hard in the face and the latter flew backward. Ran air. Lady Wang was astonished. She had always thought that Feng Yiran was more talented than any other young man of his age. However, her son had just suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of Yuminji, a teenager that looked younger than Feng Yiran. Feng Yiran didn't even have a chance to strike back. Ran air. Seeing Feng Yiran's swollen face, Lady Wang was so agitated that she almost passed out. Looking up, she glared at Feng Wu and hurled a stream of curses at her. Feng Wu, who the hell is this man? Are you shagging him? You slut. Had the target of Lady Wang's invectives been Yuminji, he wouldn't have given it another thought, for he was insensitive like that. However, insulting Feng Wu was a different story. You better leave now. Yuminji pushed Feng Wu toward the door. He was too strong for Feng Wu to resist. Yuminji, what are you doing? Feng Wu tried to talk to him over her shoulder, but Yuminji had put a hand on her head to stop her from turning around. Yuminji sounded excited. Little Feng Wu, you owe me one. After that, Yuminji shut the door behind her. Inside were Feng Yanfeng, Lady Wang, Feng Yiran, Feng Sang, and Feng Lu. All the maids, grannies, and other servants stayed outside. Granny Gui smirked at Feng Wu. Her little love was so dead. Keeping her head lowered, Granny Gui slowly backed away with a vicious smile on her face. She turned around and began to run when she reached the entrance. She had to inform the old lady about Feng Wu's little lover. Such a shameless girl had to be banished from the clan. Thud. Feng Wu grabbed a vase in the corridor and smashed it down on the back of Granny Gui's head. Thump. There was a loud sound. Hit by the vase, Granny Gui turned around, swaying, and stared at Feng Wu in disbelief. How dare this girl attack her? Feng Wu's move intimidated all the servants who worked for this branch of the clan. She was so tough. Feng Wu smiled a little. Did these people really think they could do whatever they wanted to her? She would show them what she was capable of. Blood covered Granny Gui's head, which looked quite frightening. Behind the closed door, they could hear everything banging into everything else. About 5 minutes later. The door opened. Yuminji opened it himself. Looking up, Feng Wu saw a neatly dressed teenager with a face glowing in satisfaction. She then looked behind him into the room. Feng Wu was speechless. Everyone inside was on the floor. Feng Yanfeng, Lady Wang, Feng Yiran, Feng Sang, and Feng Lu. Every face was bruised and no one was standing. Chapter 411, So Mad. When Feng Wu looked into the room, everyone inside looked back at her. Especially Feng Yanfeng, whose face alternated between red and green, he looked as furious as he was frightened. It was beyond description. Feng Wu also noticed that aside from the people scattered all over the floor, the inside of Flying Snow Building had been torn apart by Yuminji. Nothing was intact and it looked as if a robbery had taken place. Feng Wu was speechless. She finally saw how evil and defiant the sacred sun could be. She had always thought that Yuminji was a lamb. But now, she saw that the teenager had been humoring her. Just then, Yuminji gave a wave of his hand. Crunch. Screech. The entire Flying Snow Building swayed from side to side, teetered, then, run. Feng Yanfeng screeched. He then dashed out like a shooting arrow. Despite the pain all over their bodies, Feng Yiran and the others stumbled toward the door as well. Finally, they were able to make it out, just as Flying Snow Building crumbled. Rumble. Flying Snow Building collapsed with a loud bang. Feng Wu stared at Yuminji with an open mouth. A lot of servants had gathered outside when Feng Yanfeng and his family ran out. Even Granny Gui, who had been hit on the head with a vase by Feng Wu, watched this in utter astonishment. The entire family was badly battered and looked miserable. All eyes were on Feng Wu. Who on earth was this teenager Miss Wu had brought back? Who are you? Tell me your name. With eyes as swollen as walnuts, Feng Lu screamed at Yu Minji. Yu Minji was going to answer, but was stopped by the look Feng Wu gave him. He cleared his throat. It doesn't matter who I am. What matters is, touch Xiao Wu again and I'll skin you people alive. Xiao Wu, let's go. Wrapping an arm around Feng Wu's shoulders, Yu Minji led Feng Wu out of the courtyard. Feng Wu sighed in resignation. But she still let Yu Minji keep his arm around her shoulders, for right now, she needed Yu Minji's power. She wouldn't need it, if Yu Minji hadn't done what he had done. However, now that she had publicly fallen out with Feng Yanfeng, she didn't have any choice. She wasn't powerful enough to withstand the revenge of that family yet. Feng Wu glared at Yu Minji as soon as they were outside. Yu Minji's stomach lurched at Feng Wu's angry gaze. What was wrong? Feng Wu was genuinely angry. She pointed a finger at Yu Minji. How could you do that? I was only helping you. Yu Minji had no idea what damage he had caused. He thought he was doing the right thing. Feng Wu took a deep breath. It wasn't enough to suppress her anger. She stepped on Yu Minji's foot hard, then took Feng Xiaoqi's hand and turned to leave. Hey, wait. Little Feng Wu. Wait. Yu Minji was upset as well. I helped you. How can you do this to me? Do you even have a heart? Help me. Thanks so much for that help. Feng Wu glared at Yu Minji. You had so much fun kicking asses and tearing down a building. You can leave here without looking back after that, but what about me? If they dare bully you. Ha! Feng Wu snorted. A stab in the back is much more difficult to guard against than an open gunshot. I still live in this manner. How long do you think it'll take for them to get back at me? Feng Wu hadn't reached the spiritual grandmaster stage and she wasn't powerful enough. She had planned to continue pretending to be polite around Feng Yanfeng for a while yet. Not to mention. Chapter 412, Those people are so cruel. Lady Wang, Feng Yiran, Feng Lu, all of these people had had something to do with her losing her cultivation back then, which meant that they had all partially contributed to what happened to her master. Feng Wu wasn't sure about Feng Yanfeng's participation, but he couldn't have been innocent. Hence, Feng Wu had been planning to get her revenge discreetly. What Yu Minji did was a temporary catharsis, but what about the aftermath? Luckily, Yu Minji didn't tell them his name and Feng Wu was able to use his existence as leverage. Otherwise, one word of the Dark Court and Feng Yanfeng would be the first to report Yu Minji to the authorities. Yu Minji scratched his head. Feng Xiaoqi had been thrilled to see Yu Minji beat the hell out of his uncle's family. The boy had flushed with excitement and almost applauded Yu Minji loudly. But, his sister was very upset at the moment. Although he had no idea what had set his sister off, he would never question her. His sister's enemy was as good as his own and he would always share her hatred. Hence, Feng Xiaoqi ran up to Yu Minji and stomped on the latter's foot. Ow! Yu Minji hadn't been paying attention to the boy and he cried out in pain at the sudden attack. Feng Xiaoqi threw a dirty look at Yu Minji the same way his sister did before running back to Feng Wu and taking her hand. Yu Minji was left baffled on the spot. Little Feng Wu. Yu Minji ground his teeth. You ungrateful girl. What about my dignity? Feng Wu had already left with Feng Xiaoqi. Feng Wu smacked her forehead all of a sudden. Damn it. She forgot about Qiuling again. Qiuling had gone to Flying Snow Building to ask about Feng Wu's whereabouts and hadn't come back. Feng Wu was sure that Lady Wang must have locked her up. Feng Wu was going to let Feng Xiaoqi go back first so that she could go fetch Qiuling herself. Just then, Miss. A voice came from afar. Feng Wu looked up and saw a barefoot teenage girl hobbling toward them. Qiuling. Feng Wu reached out to steady Qiuling. However, Qiuling cried out in pain and burst into tears at Feng Wu's touch. Cold sweat covered her face. Feng Wu knew right away that Qiuling had been stabbed by needles. Carrying Qiuling on her back, Feng Wu hurried back toward Fallen Star Yard. "Miss, I can't let you do this. Please put me down." Qiuling was almost in tears. Masters and servants were of different classes and mistresses were supposed to be carried by their maids, not the other way round. Qiuling couldn't believe what was going on. "Don't move." Feng Wu raised her voice. Feng Wu could be very intimidating when she wanted to, and Qiuling was in so much pain. She replied in a tiny voice and stopped resisting, although her body was still rigid. Fallen Star Yard. Seeing Feng Wu carry Qiuling back, Granny Zhao rushed out to greet them and took Qiuling from her. Qiuling was ghastly pale and only half conscious by now. Granny Zhao asked anxiously, "What happened? What's wrong with Qiuling?" "Granny Zhao, we need some hot water." Feng Wu didn't explain, for she knew that Granny Zhao would know as soon as she took off Qiuling's clothes. And she was right. Granny Zhao saw the marks on Qiuling's skin when she was about to clean the latter with a hot towel, and she burst into tears. Those people. Granny Zhao couldn't stop her tears. Who could have done this? Qiuling is just a maid. How can they be so cruel? Why did they do this? Feng Wu gritted her teeth. Because. Chapter 413, The Spiritual Grandmaster Stage. Because of me. There was anger and self-derision in Feng Wu's impassive voice. "Miss Wu," Granny Zhao wanted to say something. However, Feng Wu stopped Granny Zhao with a wave of her hand. "Clean Qiuling with a hot towel, then put this ointment on her." She then turned to leave. "Sister." Feng Xiaoqi took Feng Wu's hand. "Sister, where are you going?" "Don't worry, I won't lose control." Feng Wu sat down on the threshold and let Feng Xiaoqi sit next to her. Looking up, she realized that the silver moon was wrapped in thick cloud layers and the sky was pitch black. Feng Wu recalled the densely packed needle marks on Qiuling's fair skin. The wounds were bloody and the needles used had been very thick. Moreover, Feng Wu noticed that they weren't clean at all. They wanted Qiuling dead. Those people. They'd lost their minds. She had to get stronger. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Otherwise, she could only watch as everyone she cared about got hurt. It was Qiuling this time, but soon, it could be Granny Zhao, Feng Xiaoqi, her beautiful mother, or even herself. She could stand the physical pain, but what if someone was killed? What they had done to Qiuling could have killed her. At that thought, Feng Wu clenched her fists so hard that her fingernails dug into her palms. As for Yu Minji, he had been unjustly blamed. Just then, Feng Wu felt the divine blood of the phoenix between her eyebrows stir violently, and she heard a phoenix utter a long and loud cry in her head. "Wait!" Feng Wu's eyes lit up in pleasant surprise. There was no time to think. Feng Wu crossed her legs and switched to her cultivation mode right away. Feng Xiaoqi, the bright boy, realized what was going on immediately. His sister had had an epiphany. He closed the gate of Fallen Star Yard in a hurry, then took out a dagger and stood there to guard his sister. Uncle Chiu came out at the noise, and he didn't need any further explanation. The sorrow of seeing Qiuling in her miserable state turned into anxiety and excitement when he saw that Feng Wu was going to make a breakthrough. Meanwhile, Feng Wu was at war inside her head. It felt as if a storm was brewing in her dantian. Spiritual energy in the air rushed toward Feng Wu and kept pouring in through her nostrils and her skin. Streaks of spiritual energy gathered above the water of her dantian. Sizzle. Fire spiritual energy clashed with the water of her dantian, creating a spiritual liquid which dripped down. Almost there. She was that close to filling her dantian. However, Feng Wu realized in disappointment that she was running out of spiritual energy. She was finally ready to break through, and if she stopped here, she didn't know when the epiphany would come again. Feng Wu felt like crying. Just then, a tiny fluffy thing woke up and crawled out of Feng Wu's chest pocket, still sleepy-eyed. It was Feng Tutu. The cub exhaled and a streak of pale green spiritual energy flew into Feng Wu's nostrils. Spiritual energy. Feng Wu was elated. Without thinking, she transported that additional spiritual energy into her dantian. It then turned into spiritual liquid and dripped down. Finally, her dantian was filled to the point of spilling over. Now! Feng Wu growled. At that moment, a bolt of lightning struck Fallen Star Yard. What was that? Feng Yanfeng and the rest of his family were lying around in a courtyard next to Flying Snow Building. They were being treated for their wounds when the lightning struck and they almost jumped to their feet in fright. Was that lightning? Was that a lightning tribulation? Chapter 4:14, Her cover is blown. Feng Yanfeng and the rest of his family were lying around in a room next to the collapsed Flying Snow Building. It was a crushing defeat. Everyone had bruises all over their faces and eyes as swollen as walnuts. Dad, Mum, Wah, Feng Lu cried from both the physical pain and humiliation. Lady Wang was fuming. That Feng Wu is so defiant. How could she do this? How? Feng Yiran clenched his fists. I'm going to make him regret what he did to me. Feng Sang had been slapped as many times as the others had and she took a deep breath. He can't be with Feng Wu around the clock. Feng Yanfeng's face was livid. As the head of the Feng clan, what would other people think of him if they knew that he had been humiliated like this? Thanks to this common enemy, this family had never been as united as they were now. And that was why Feng Wu was so mad at Yu Minji. Feng Wu had humiliated Feng Lu on purpose during that incident in the Yen Manor so that Feng Yanfeng would blame Feng Lu and Lady Wang. Feng Wu had been trying to drive a wedge between the members of that family. Once that was achieved, she would defeat each of them separately, such was Feng Wu's original plan. Feng Wu wouldn't have recklessly taken her family back to the clan without a good strategy. Yu Minji had not only injured these people, he had even destroyed Flying Snow Building. As satisfying as that was, he had ruined Feng Wu's painstaking efforts. Feng Wu was mad at him for that reason. However, Yu Minji was used to plain sailing and could never understand why Feng Wu had to be so meticulous. Just as Feng Yanfeng's family was discussing what to do to get their revenge, united in their shared goal, the lightning struck. Rumble, it's not windy or rainy and that lightning just came out of nowhere. Can it be a lightning tribulation? Lady Wang felt uneasy. Feng Lu said weakly, that's in the direction of Fallen Star Yard, right? How can it be a lightning tribulation? Someone up there must find Feng Wu too bold and is trying to kill her with lightning. No one thought about the possibility that Feng Wu was breaking through. However, someone else other than Feng Yanfeng's family had noticed it. And that person was Yu Minji. After Feng Wu left, the more Yu Minji thought about it, the more aggrieved he became. He had helped Feng Wu and taken out those people for her. Why had she reprimanded him for her? And his foot had been stepped on. He was very upset. Yu Minji, the sacred son of the Dark Court, was never known for a good temper and he wasn't going to stay here for one more second. However, he only took a few steps before he sensed the lightning striking Fallen Star Yard. Shit! It wouldn't kill that girl, would it? Yu Minji panicked and he rushed toward Fallen Star Yard right away. 3 elders followed Yu Minji around the clock. They were elders 1, 2, and 3. Elder 1 frowned and so did Elder 2. Elder 3 rubbed his nose and made a comment. Didn't he say that he would never talk to that girl again? He's running faster than a rabbit. Yu Minji ignored them. Jumping over the wall of Fallen Star Yard like a shooting arrow, he landed in the courtyard shouting, "Little Feng Wu. Let me fend off that lightning strike for you." But before he could make his next move, Yu Minji realized in surprise that it was a lightning tribulation. It wasn't a lightning strike, but a lightning tribulation. The thing that would only happen to cultivators. Yu Minji was astonished. Rubbing his eyes, he looked up again. Feng Wu sat there cross-legged as streaks of lightning sparked in the air around her. Yu Minji. Chapter 4:15, You Big, Fat Liar. Yu Minji watched in disbelief. A fucking lightning tribulation. And it struck Feng Wu right on her crown. Right now, Feng Wu was absorbing the energy in that lightning to refine her body. That was to say, little Feng Wu was breaking through. What happened to her having no cultivation ability? And what about her being useless? What the hell? Judging by the power of this lightning tribulation, Yu Minji realized in surprise that the useless, little Feng Wu was breaking through to the spiritual grandmaster stage. Standing there holding the dagger, Feng Xiaoqi glared at Yu Minji. If Yu Minji dared disturb Feng Wu, Feng Xiaoqi wouldn't hesitate to fight the guy to death. Luckily, Yu Minji didn't move. He only glowered at Feng Wu with unblinking eyes. Granny Zhao and Uncle Chiu were very concerned. What were they supposed to do now? Their mistress had stressed over and over again that they had to keep this a secret. Their lives would be threatened if word got out. However, her cover had just been blown. While everyone was staring at Yu Minji in bewilderment, Feng Wu finished consuming the lightning energy that she breathed out and opened her limpid eyes. Uncle Chiu, Granny Zhao. Feng Wu batted her long eyelashes, her eyes twinkling in excitement. I've reached the spiritual grandmaster stage. Ha ha ha. I'm finally a spiritual grandmaster. Uncle Chiu and Granny Zhao returned her exclamation with despairing looks on their faces that they had thought about the possibility of talking themselves out of this. However, their mistress had just announced it herself, it was all over. Granny Zhao gestured at a spot behind Feng Wu with her right index finger. Feng Wu turned around in confusion. And she saw Yu Minji with that indecipherable look on his face. Feng Wu. Yu Minji stared at Feng Wu, then smirked. A spiritual grandmaster. Congratulations, Miss Feng Wu. She was a spiritual grandmaster when only earlier today, she had pretended to be completely crippled. Seriously? Once the initial shock was over, Yu Minji was furious for having been fooled like this. After casting a stern look at Feng Wu, he turned to leave. Feng Wu woke up from her astonishment at that moment. No. She couldn't let Yu Minji leave like this. If word of her recovery got out and the others knew about her cultivation stage, the Zhuo family would come at her right away. Feng Wu wasn't strong enough to fight against the entire Zhuo family yet. At that thought, Feng Wu ran out after him. Yu Minji, wait, Feng Wu called after Yu Minji. But Yu Minji didn't look back. Even his back looked angry. Yu Minji. Feng Wu soon caught up with him and grabbed his hand. Yu Minji glared at Feng Wu. Let go. Calm down. How can I? Glaring at Feng Wu, Yu Minji said in vexation, what am I to you? Aren't you supposed to be useless and crippled? But you can cultivate and you're a spiritual grandmaster already. You big, fat liar. Yu Minji. By now, they had left the Feng Manor and were out on the street. Yu Minji didn't try to keep his voice down at all. Growing up in an indulgent environment, Yu Minji knew no forbearance or prudence. Shoo, keep your voice down. Feng Wu looked around. The street was deserted at this hour, but someone could be lurking in some dark corner. Chapter 4:16, I'm not listening to you. Moreover, they were right outside the Feng Manor. Someone inside might hear them. Why should I keep my voice down? No. I'm going to shout as loudly as I want. Feng Wu, you're a big liar. The biggest liar in the world, you. Feng Wu cut him off by putting a hand over his mouth. Feng Wu was infuriated by this unreasonable, unruly big baby. He was forcing her to yell at him. Feng Wu glared at him. Shut up. Right now. Yu Minji returned her gaze angrily. Feng Wu stared back even more fiercely. As soon as Feng Wu flared up, Yu Minji began to cower. He looked like a deflating balloon and was flattened as one watched. In the end, he looked at Feng Wu sadly with accusatory, puppy dog eyes. You're so mean. At the same time, the Crown Prince was in his own residence. Get out. Granny Gong had come in with some late-night snack, but the irritated Crown Prince only bellowed at her with a wave of his hand. The gust of wind cut the tray to pieces and it shattered all over the floor. Granny Gong gave Feng a pleading look. Feng returned it with a look of resignation. His Royal Highness had left the residence earlier in a great mood. However, when he came back, he shut himself in his study and smashed everything to pieces. Before, His Royal Highness was merciless and lofty, but had always put on an expressionless face and had wonderful control over his emotions. Recently, however, he had lost control twice already. Feng rubbed his forehead. He didn't even have to guess. His Royal Highness had fallen out with Miss Feng Wu, again. Your Royal Highness. Feng entered the study, walking on the floor covered in broken porcelain. There was no warmth in Jun Lin Yuan's eyes and he looked as fierce as a cornered beast. He reminded Feng of a cheetah ready to attack. Your Royal Highness, I was informed that after Miss Wu got back to the Feng Manor. Shut up. Jun Lin Yuan exploded and his brooding eyes spat shards of ice. I don't want to hear about her ever again. He could still hear Feng Wu's voice in his head. I'd rather fall in love with Feng Sun. She would choose Feng Sun over him. To her, even Feng Sun was better than him, the Crown Prince. He couldn't bear it. Boss Jun wanted to beat Feng Sun up again. Feng hesitated. But it's about the Feng. Since when do you defy my orders? Jun Lin Yuan shot a stern look at Feng, his voice infuriated. Feng rubbed his nose and turned to leave. Stop. Jun Lin Yuan was able to recollect himself before Feng left the room. Speak. Feng's eyes flickered. Your Royal Highness, Miss Wu was bullied by Feng Yanfeng and his family after she got back. Jun Lin Yuan cut Feng off with a smirk. She's so proud and self-centered that she deserves a good kick in the ass. What's wrong with that? After all, with what that girl was capable of, Feng Yanfeng was never going to be her match. Feng added, then. Jun Lin Yuan silenced him with a wave of his hand. Feng was speechless. He hadn't reached the part where Yu Minji had come to Miss Feng Wu's aid and demolished Flying Snow Building. Out, the proud Crown Prince ordered. Feng sighed, shook his head, and did as told. Chapter 417, A Very Big Misunderstanding. Yu Minji accused Feng Wu with his eyes. You yelled at me. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Listen. No, I won't. I won't. Covering his ears with both hands, Yu Minji behaved like a kid. Feng Wu shouted, Yu Minji. And you yelled at me again. Yu Minji said indignantly. What on earth do you want me to do? Feng Wu didn't know what to do with this goofball. Beg me. Yu Minji gloated. Say, brother Yu Minji, please don't tell anyone else. Please. Say it. Yu Minji prompted Feng Wu. Feng Wu. Yu Minji seemed to love that idea and he gave Feng Wu a sidelong glance in satisfaction. That's right. Beg me. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Crossing his arms over his chest, Yu Minji snorted. Do that or I'm going to tell everyone about it. Then, everyone will. Feng Wu took another deep breath. Do I have any other options? Yu Minji grinned. Nope. Feng Wu said, you'll keep it a secret if I do that. Yu Minji said proudly, of course. I always keep my word and I won't tell another soul. You'll keep the secret for me after I say that? Yes. Fine. Feng Wu rolled up her sleeves. They were just words and it wouldn't hurt her. Mimicking Yu Minji's tone, Feng Wu said those words in a cloying voice. To demonstrate how devoted she was, Feng Wu even tugged Yu Minji's sleeve and looked into his eyes. If one were to observe them from afar, one would think that they were staring at each other in an affectionate way. Wow! Feng Wu. It's really you. Someone cried out in surprise. Feng Wu's heart sank and she had a very bad feeling about this. She turned to look. Mu Yao Yao. Feng Wu had met her a few times in northern border city. Mu Yao Yao had joined hands with Feng Lu and tried to set Feng Wu up a few times. However, none of them worked and Mu Yao Yao had wound up eating her own bitter fruit. Why are you here? Feng Wu frowned. I wouldn't have seen that great scene if I wasn't here. Mu Yao Yao widened her eyes in an exaggerated way. Feng Wu, I thought you were in love with the crown prince. Why are you all over Yu Minji now? You're such a frivolous, shameless woman. Feng Wu frowned a little. She couldn't be bothered to argue with Mu Yao Yao and was ready to leave with Yu Minji. There was something else she needed to tell Yu Minji. However, Mu Yao Yao wouldn't let her. What? You're trying to run away after being spotted? Mu Yao Yao glared at Feng Wu. Women like you don't deserve to love the crown prince. Feng Wu was speechless. Mu Yao Yao kept her gaze on Feng Wu. Leave the crown prince alone or I'll tell everyone how brazen you are. She stormed off after that. She was so thrilled. Yu Minji would be a very desirable man if Jun Linyuan, the unparalleled genius, didn't exist in this world. However, there he was. If I can make the thing between Feng Wu and Yu Minji stick, Mu Yao Yao finally figured out a way to tarnish Feng Wu's reputation. Shall I kill her? Yu Minji sounded as casual as if he was talking about the weather. Feng Wu asked in resignation, is killing people as simple as drinking or eating for you? Yu Minji shrugged. Feng Wu then asked, why do you need to kill her? Chapter 418, Congratulations, Miss. Why kill her? Did that need to be asked? Yu Minji smirked. That woman was watching you with pure hatred and conceit. Only then did Feng Wu realize that despite the goofy teenager's bright smile, he was still from the dark court. He had grown up watching people kill each other, and a bloody massacre wouldn't even make him blink. Taking lives came to him as naturally as breathing. Recalling what Mu Yao Yao had done to her back in northern border city, Feng Wu snorted. If someone is going to kill her, it has to be me. That's right. Yu Minji's eyes lit up. You're a pretty decent cultivator yourself and you won't break a sweat killing her. That reminded Yu Minji of Feng Wu's lie and he got cross again. He glared at Feng Wu with puffed-out cheeks. Feng Wu rubbed her temples. How could the teenager be so vengeful? She said grumpily, fine, I kept it a secret from you. When are you going to let it drop? Plus, you're the only person outside of my family who knows about it. Feng Sun doesn't know. Yu Minji's eyes flickered. No. And Xian Yi doesn't know? No. What about Jun Linyuan? I don't think he knows. I didn't tell him, anyway, Feng Wu said affirmatively. Yu Minji, who had been vexed a moment ago, became excited. Grabbing Feng Wu's hands, he said with eyes that sparkled like the brightest stars in the night sky, Jun Linyuan doesn't know? He doesn't. Ha 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 ha. He really doesn't know. Feng Wu nodded. Ha ha ha, Yu Minji was so pleased. He was in on the secret when Jun Linyuan wasn't. Ha 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 ha. Yu Minji couldn't keep the excitement out of his voice and he gazed at Feng Wu with wide open eyes. Don't tell Jun Linyuan about your cultivation ability. This is between us now. Okay. Feng Wu was speechless. Why was Yu Minji so happy over such a petty thing? However, since Yu Minji had promised to keep the secret, which put her mind at ease, Feng Wu nodded. Okay. Since Yu Minji was still grinning, Feng Wu snapped, I see you have nothing better to do. Do me a favor, then. What do you need? Yu Minji was thrilled. Little Feng Wu hadn't asked Feng Sun or Jun Linyuan for help, but had turned to him instead. He was so happy. Feng Wu then whispered something in Yu Minji's ear. No problem. Consider it done. Yu Minji patted his chest, then dashed off. After that, Feng Wu returned to Fallen Star Yard. Sister. Feng Xiaoqi ran toward her in a hurry, the dagger still in his hand. His forehead was covered with sweat. Sister. Sister. What happened? Is that bad guy going to tell on you? Uncle Chiu and Granny Xiao also watched Feng Wu anxiously. Feng Wu smiled. We're safe. Phew, everyone let out breaths of relief and relaxed. It was so frightening. Granny Xiao was the first to come back to herself and she smiled at Feng Wu. Congratulations, Mississippi. You're finally a spiritual grandmaster. Uncle Chiu also cupped his hands in excitement. Congratulations. No one could have leveled up at such a tremendous speed like you. Qiuling also made her way to the courtyard with much difficulty and excited tears covered her face. Miss Wu was the backbone of this family. Members of this family could only walk tall when she was strong enough. Feng Wu looked around at everyone and said, my own improvement won't be enough. From now on, Uncle Chiu, Xiaoqi, and Qiuling, you all have to start cultivating. Chapter 419, Ultimate Spiritual Body. Uncle Chiu was a level 8 spiritual master, while both Qiuling and Xiaoqi were level 1 spiritual masters. Back in northern border city, Feng Wu had yet to become a spiritual grandmaster, and even when she was already a master medicine refiner, she couldn't offer them much help. But things had changed now. Feng Wu said, Qiuling needs to recover from her injuries first, but Uncle Chiu and Xiaoqi, you two need to start ASAP. After that, Feng Wu turned to Uncle Chiu first. Uncle Chiu, you've been stuck at level 8 for years. You've gathered enough spiritual energy, but what you lack is the comprehension of your cultivation. I need a pen. Feng Wu reached out with her right hand. Granny Zhao brought her a writing brush and ink immediately. Feng Wu was very serious when she taught and everyone listened in silence. Feng Wu finished her writing in one go. After blowing the ink dry, she handed Uncle Chiu a thin pamphlet. Uncle Chiu, this is Book of Tong Tian, a revision of Book of Batian, which you have been using for your cultivation. That was to say, based on Book of Batian, Feng Wu had customized a cultivation manual specifically for Uncle Chiu. What she had done was beyond anything a spiritual grandmaster could do. Uncle Chiu took Book of Tong Tian with trembling hands and eyes filled with excitement. Thank you, Miss Wu. Feng Wu nodded. I'll be out and about a lot from now on, so Uncle Chiu, I'll leave the safety of this family in your hands. Uncle Chiu nodded solemnly. As long as you put your mind to it, Uncle Chiu, I promise that you can break through to level 9 in 10 days. Uncle Chiu was thrilled. He had been stuck at level 8 for so long that he had pretty much given up. If anyone else told him that he could make it to the next level in 10 days, he would only think the person insane. However, he wouldn't question a word Feng Wu said. Sister, what about me? Feng Xiaoqi looked up at his big sister. To him, his sister was God. Feng Wu smiled at him. Do you know why I didn't allow you to cultivate before? No, Feng Xiaoqi was an obedient boy. He wouldn't try to cultivate since his sister had said so and no one could persuade him otherwise. Because I've been enhancing your body for the past 5 years. You had a semi-ultimate spiritual body before. Although that would make you a prodigy of your generation in the Junwu Empire, what we're aiming for is far beyond that. Xiaoqi, we're going to make you a prodigy across all generations. That's why I've been keeping you from cultivating. But it's time now. Xiaoqi, you can start. All right. Feng Xiaoqi beamed at her. Sitting Xiaoqi down in the correct position, Feng Wu taught him everything from scratch. Feng Wu's beautiful master used to rule over this continent and she had been well taught. In terms of theoretical knowledge, Feng Wu was as good as the most superior cultivators in this land. She had enough knowledge to set up a sect of her own. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to revise Uncle Chio's manual in such a short time and change it into something that was most suitable for him. Because of Feng Xiaoqi's ultimate spiritual body, after some careful consideration, Feng Wu chose ultimate spiritual divine power for him to practice. The most wonderful thing about this manual was that it fitted Feng Xiaoqi's ultimate spiritual body perfectly. He wouldn't have to spend time on additional comprehension and the breakthrough would come naturally as he cultivated. That was to say, this book was not only suitable for Xiaoqi's physical quality, it matched his temperament as well. Miss I. Chapter 420, No one was left out. Qiuling lay in bed. Despite her ghastly pale face, her eyes were as bright as stars. And she was staring at Feng Wu eagerly. Feng Wu looked back at her and sighed. You were not born with the most suitable quality for cultivation. Qiuling had heard it more than once from her mistress, but it still hurt to hear it now. Even with herbal baths, your physical quality can't be changed. Qiuling was on the verge of breaking into tears. But Feng Wu smiled a little at Qiuling. Give me your hand now. Qiuling looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment, but still did as told. Feng Wu rested her fingers on Qiuling's wrist for a few seconds and a mix of surprise and comprehension flickered in her eyes. Miss? Qiuling looked at Feng Wu in wonder. Why was her mistress looking at her like that? It was kind of scary. Feng Wu smiled a little. Qiuling, I finally see what a blessing in disguise is. I've been too gentle with you. Huh? Qiuling was at a loss. Miss, what's wrong? Feng Wu sighed. Rubbing her eyes, she smiled bitterly. I didn't know this was possible. How could I have never thought of it before? I could slap myself. Miss? Qiuling was even more bewildered. Feng Wu said, didn't Granny Gui poke you with long, thick needles? Yes. Feng Wu said earnestly, Granny Gui's strikes were completely random, and because of that, she accidentally removed most of the impurities in your body. It's thanks to your persistence over the years that those impurities can be removed in the first place. Qiuling was shocked. What? Feng Wu nodded. As a cultivator, you used to be very ordinary in terms of your natural endowment. You would only be a level 5 spiritual master at most if you go down that path. That's why I've been telling you that you aren't built for cultivation. Feng Wu knew how hard Qiuling tried. The girl would practice on her own, but the impurities stopped her from making any progress and she had to give up in the end. Tears welled up in Qiuling's eyes and she clenched her fists under the duvet. She hadn't felt the pressure of becoming a better cultivator in the beginning. However, when her mistress fell 5 years ago, the family had no one else strong enough to depend on, and they felt as feeble as a boat on a stormy ocean, ready to capsize at any moment. That was why Qiuling wanted to get stronger. She wanted to protect this family. But there was nothing she could do about her mediocre quality. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't make any breakthroughs. She would cry in disappointment every time and she would resume her practice after she stopped crying, but she was still a level 1 spiritual master. No one could know how upset she was. Miss, are you saying that I have a talent for it now? Qiuling looked at Feng Wu in excitement. Looking at her maid, who was trembling with joy, Feng Wu nodded. Yes, you do. And with my help, your future will be very promising. Does that mean that we all can? No. Feng Wu cut her off. You were able to obtain this talent because you never gave up despite all the failures, because you set your mind on cultivation, and because of this huge coincidence. What happened to you can't be replicated. Qiuling nodded. If Lady Wang sends people here to ask about you, tell them to thank Granny Gui for us. Teehee, Chilling giggled. Feng Wu grinned at her. Get well first and start your cultivation 3 days later. You can study that Book of Wood for now and I'll give you something else when you reach level 5. Chapter 421, Beautiful Master. After leaving Uncle Chiu, Xiaoqi, and chilling instructions on their cultivation, Feng Wu went back to her own room. She smiled bitterly when she was on her own. Cultivation required spiritual energy. Previously, she had been the only cultivator in the family and she didn't need too many spiritual stones. With 3 new members on board, Feng Wu realized that she was running low on spiritual stones. No, she couldn't just sit here and wait for spiritual stones to fall in her lap. She needed to search for them actively. A figure as nimble as a cat jumped out of Fallen Star Yard later that night. The Feng clan had a store of spiritual stones and Feng Yanfeng held the key to the storage room. However, Feng Wu didn't need a key for such a door. As the genius girl of the family, the entire vault used to be Feng Wu's own. However, the clan wouldn't spare her any spiritual stones after she lost her ability. And of course Feng Wu wouldn't let that happen. She ran as swiftly as a cat on its night patrol. After reaching the spiritual grandmaster stage, Feng Wu was even faster than before. She reached the vault of the Feng clan in no time. Needless to say, the vault was guarded. However, Feng Wu took Feng Tutu out of her chest pocket and whispered something in its ear. At the mention of food, Feng Tutu's eyes lit up and it gave a little cheerful cry. Clatter, Feng Wu threw out a pebble deliberately. Who's there? The guards heard it. They were well trained. Feng Tutu made a little noise in the darkness, then dashed off. While Feng Tutu lured the guards away, Feng Wu jumped onto the 2nd floor of the vault. She knew that the 3rd window on the 2nd floor could be opened from outside, for she had made it so. And she was right. Pushing the window open, Feng Wu swiftly made her way inside, then closed the window behind her. It all happened in a split second. The guards consisted of a 10-man team and each shift was 2 hours long. The captain of the current shift was Feng Baoshan. Seeing that several guards had run off after the sound, he called after them in a hurry, "Get back here. Now." "Captain," Feng Baoshan said, "you're all overreacting. It was just a rat." "Really? Since when are there rats in the manor?" all the other guards thought to themselves. Feng Baoshan wasn't thinking about the vault tonight. Everyone in the manor had been talking. Lady Wang's flying snow building had collapsed. The explanation they had been given was that the building had been in disrepair and that the lightning strike had been the last straw. However, everyone at the level of a captain or above had their own ideas. Flying snow building had toppled before that lightning strike. Exactly what happened to Feng Yanfeng's family. However, that branch of the clan was very tight-lipped and no one knew what really happened. Feng Wu had no idea what was going on in the captain's head. She was like a cat in a canary's nest. She wasn't the only one in need of spiritual stones. Xiaoqi, Qiuling, and Uncle Chiu all needed them. So, she was going to take a lot. Moreover, Feng Wu had other plans. She had no interest in the books on the shelves, for she had read them all when she was little. Plus, she could create much better manuals than those on the shelves. She went up to the 3rd floor. Feng Wu knew this place like the back of her hand. Opening a hidden door, she entered and opened the first chest she saw. It was filled with spiritual stones. Bingo! Feng Wu stored it in her ring. There were 2 more chests of spiritual stones. After some thought, Feng Wu decided to leave them here. She could always come back for more when she needed them. After all, her beautiful master was in the ring as well. Chapter 422, Breakthrough. She didn't want to pile up the space with too much stuff, for it felt disrespectful toward her beautiful master. However, after reaching the spiritual grandmaster stage, Feng Wu could make complicated seals with her hands now. Raising both hands, Feng Wu's fingers moved swiftly. A golden seal soon appeared in the air, which then buried itself in the two chests. No matter where these two chests of spiritual stones were taken, she would be able to find them when she needed them later. Wait, was that a small chest of jade stones? Judging by the thick layer of dust over the chest, it had sat there for a very long time. Feng Wu was anything but courteous and she took all the jade stones. She then summoned Feng Tutu back. As expected. After Feng Tutu deliberately made some noise, all the guards were lured away again. Taking the opportunity, Feng Wu shot out of the window on the second floor and hid herself in the shadows of the trees. Feng Tutu was unbelievably fast for how plump it looked. The guards had zero luck trying to catch up with it and they eventually gave up. Feng Wu sat down happily at the table after she got back to Fallen Star Yard. Miss, Granny Zhao came in with some sweet lotus seed soup and almost dropped the bowl when she saw all the white and green jade stones on the table. Miss, where did you get those? She had only gone off to make a late-night snack and her mistress had made a quick profit in that short period of time. What Feng Wu was doing at the moment was a reckless waste of this natural treasure. She was extracting jade essence. The white jade stones were softer in texture and the green ones were harder. But to Feng Tutu, as long as the jade stone could provide it with jade essence, it didn't care how soft or hard the stone was. Feng Wu looked up at Granny Zhao and gave the latter a smile. What do you think? They belong to the clan, don't they? Granny Zhao said in resignation. Yup, Feng Wu said in a devil-may-care tone. To other people, these stones are pretty jewelry pieces they can carry around, but to Feng Tutu, they're its favorite food. Feng Wu had discovered one of Feng Tutu's abilities already, which was to provide her with spiritual energy. Feng Wu had been in desperate need of some extra spiritual energy when she was breaking through to the spiritual grandmaster stage. She couldn't have made that progress without Feng Tutu's contribution. Feng Tutu was like the ultimate healer, and its ability would be of great use in combat. As tiny as it was now, it could already produce quite a lot of spiritual energy. What would happen when it grew bigger? Feng Wu was looking forward to it. The following day. A little after dawn. Sister. 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 Feng Wu was still asleep when Feng Xiaoqi rushed into her room and shook her arm in excitement. Last night, Feng Wu had extracted jade essence from all the jade stones she obtained, which had exhausted her. She fell asleep right after. Sister, Feng Xiaoqi's voice seemed to have a penetrating power. What? Feng Wu sat up with her duvet in her arms. She rubbed her sleepy eyes. Sister, look at me. Look. Feng Xiaoqi twirled around in front of Feng Wu. Sister, do you see any difference in me? Still half asleep, Feng Wu looked at Feng Xiaoqi from head to toe and her eyes widened all of a sudden. Sister. Sister. Teehee, Feng Xiaoqi grinned. He wanted to tell everyone the good news. You're a level 3 spiritual master already. Even Feng Wu was surprised. It had only been one night and Feng Xiaoqi had leveled up twice. That was incredible. Chapter 423, New House. That's great. Feng Wu nodded with a smile. It's faster than I expected. The ultimate spiritual body is indeed incredible. Granny Zhao came in with breakfast at that moment and she almost dropped her tray when she heard the conversation. Level 3. Young Master Qi is a level 3 spiritual master already. Granny Zhao was astonished. That's right. Feng Xiaoqi gloated. Level 3. Who are you talking about? A teenager hurried toward them. It was none other than Yu Minji. However, Granny Zhao stopped him before he could set foot inside. It wouldn't be appropriate for him to enter a young lady's bedchamber. Feng Xiaoqi rushed out as well and glared at Yu Minji. Yu Minji's eyes lit up when he spotted Feng Xiaoqi. Hey, weren't you level 1 yesterday? Why are you level 3 already? Did you take an elixir or something? Of course not. Feng Xiaoqi said earnestly. Then how did you do it? Yu Minji didn't believe him. How? That question baffled Feng Xiaoqi. Tilting his head, he said, I don't know. I fell asleep while cultivating, and when I woke up, I was a level 3 spiritual master. Yu Minji refused to believe it. No one could make progress that effortlessly. Even a genius like himself had to climb up one step at a time. It's not like you're an ancient divine beast, Yu Minji mumbled. Just then, the door opened and Feng Wu came out, looking refreshed. Yu Minji's face lit up at the sight of Feng Wu. You have everything? Feng Wu asked. Yu Minji nodded. I've prepared everything you asked for. But are you sure I can bring everything here? Since Feng Yanfeng was still in charge of the manor, Feng Wu gave it some thought, then said, I'll go have a look with you. Yu Minji was looking forward to a moment alone with Feng Wu. That's great. Sister, I'm coming with you. Feng Xiaoqi glared at Yu Minji, viewing the latter a dumb bear that was trying to lure his sister away. As dumb as this guy looked, he was still a suspicious bear. However, at that moment a tumult of voices came from outside, which didn't sound very nice at all. Granny Zhao hurried out to have a look and she frowned at what she saw. Half a dozen grannies stood outside and were making veiled accusations of the people of Fallen Star Yard. A short distance away, other servants were stealing glances in this direction. Lady Wang must have sent them, Granny Zhao frowned. Miss, the main kitchen stopped sending us fresh food since this morning. And water, too, Granny Zhao added. Are they going to starve us to death now? Feng Wu frowned. It seemed that Lady Wang was openly confronting her now. With all the cultivators here, they were in urgent need of an undisturbed environment. Feng Wu told Uncle Chiu, who had come out in a hurry, Uncle Chiu, go out now and see if there's any house on sale. No problem. Miss, are we moving out? Granny Zhao was a little concerned. Without the protection of the clan, other people may covet your mother for her beauty. Feng Wu shook her head. I'm always out and about. Leaving you all in the manor is even more dangerous. As for our safety after we move out, I'll figure something out soon. She then turned to Yu Minji. Take everything to my new house after that's settled. It'll save us an extra trip. Chapter 424, Why do you need Feng Sun? Yu Minji sulked, for he didn't like Feng Wu giving in. How can you be so cowardly? You run away the minute other people try to corner you. If I were you, I'd kill them all. Why are you doing this to yourself? Feng Wu looked at Yu Minji as if she was looking at an idiot. If it wasn't for what he had done last night, which had broken the delicate balance, she could still try to work her plan one bit at a time and she wouldn't have to move anywhere. She wasn't giving in, what she needed now was a quiet, safe place with dense spiritual energy for her and her family to cultivate in. Feng Wu's face softened when she saw how relieved her mother was. Here in the Feng Manor, her mother was confined to this Fallen Star Yard, which could be quite suffocating. After Feng Wu found a new house, she would set up formations and her mother would be much safer living there. Miss. Before long, Uncle Chiu ran back in a hurry. Miss, Grand Secretary Feng, our next-door neighbor, is retiring soon, and he's selling his house. Uncle Chiu was very efficient. And there's a smaller house on sale 2 streets away. Those are the only 2 I can find for now. Sister, are we going to buy a new house? Feng Xiaoqi was thrilled. Xiaoqi, do you want to move out? Yes. Move, move, the beautiful lady held Feng Wu's hand and looked very pitiful. Sure, sure. We're moving out soon. Feng Wu rubbed her mother's head. She had been wrong. She thought that by coming back to the Feng Manor, her family would at least have some protection. She had planned to lay low for a while and everything would be better when she was strong enough. But as it turned out, her family had suffered, which was something Feng Wu couldn't stand. But sister, do we have enough money for a house? Feng Xiaoqi asked. All eyes turned to Feng Wu. During the 5 years in northern border city, Feng Wu had spent all her time improving her medicine refinement skills, which was why she was able to reach the master level in a mere 5 years. No one else in the imperial capital could have done that. However, her beautiful master had left instructions, forbidding her from making any profit from the medicine she made, and Feng Wu always followed her master's orders. So, she had never made a penny from treating her patients. We'll have the money. Feng Wu didn't think that the money would be a problem. Uncle Chiu, what kind of prices are we looking at? Feng Wu asked. Grand Secretary Fang's manor is square in shape with his northern gate facing the street and the southern gate facing a lake. It's got a great location. Although it's not as big as our manor, but the price. How much? Feng Wu asked. 100,000 taels of silver, and 3 spiritual herbs comprised of a 1,000-year-old ginseng, a 5,000-year-old lingzhi mushroom, and a 10,000-year-old Chinese knotweed. Uncle Chiu smiled bitterly. How about we check out that smaller house first? Feng Wu knew the layout of Grand Secretary Fang's manor. Her master had said back then that Grand Secretary Fang's courtyard was ideal for setting up an essence-gathering formation, which would take advantage of Cloud Lake in the north. No, we're buying Grand Secretary Fang's house. Feng Wu then turned to Yu Minji. I need to go to Feng Sun. You can do whatever you want now. Why Feng Sun? Yu Minji flared up. What do you need him for? I can give you the money if you don't have it. And those herbs, too. I'll kill Grand Secretary Fang for you if he won't sell you the house. So, what do you need Feng Sun for? Yu Minji glared at Feng Wu. I'm so much better than him. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. What was this fit of pique about? Chapter 425, What Good News? However, she still explained to him, Sir Yan is the husband of Feng Sun's eldest aunt on his father's side. If Feng Yanfeng wants a promotion, he has to get Sir Yan's approval first. I'm going to get Feng Yanfeng the position he wants, but he'll have to pay for it. 100,000 taels of silver will be a price he's willing to pay. Feng Wu was never going to use her own money to buy that house, but let Feng Yanfeng pay it for her. What do you need Feng Sun for? I can make that happen for you. Yu Minji puffed out his cheeks. Huh? Feng Wu was baffled. Aren't you from the Dark Court? That's right. Aren't you people the surviving supporters of the previous dynasty? That's right. So, aren't you supposed to not show your faces in public? Says who? Yu Minji protested. Of course we can walk around in broad daylight. I can walk all the way into the royal palace now if I want to. But why? Feng Wu was at a loss. Because, Yu Minji said cheerfully. Dark City, where our Dark Court is located, has declared its independence from the Junwu Empire and we have our own emperor now. That is to say, I'm officially the crown prince of the Dark Empire. And there's more. Because of some reason, which I can't tell you, your emperor needs the Dark Empire's help. The fact that it could force Emperor Wu to consent to its independence showed how powerful the Dark Court was. Emperor Wu needed the Dark Empire's help. Although Feng Wu didn't know why, she was certain that Yu Minji was telling the truth, for he wouldn't lie about something like that. Make your uncle the assistant minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel, right? Is that position good enough? I can make him a minister if you want. Yu Minji grinned. Feng Wu smiled wryly. An assistant minister will do. He won't be there very long, anyway. Yu Minji was thrilled that he could be of help to Feng Wu, for that proved how close Feng Wu was to him. She didn't go to Jun Linyuan, did she? The more Yu Minji thought about it, the more satisfied he was. Feng Wu went to Feng Yanfeng straight away. Feng Lu stopped her outside the study. Feng Wu, what are you doing here? Feng Lu glared at Feng Wu, wanting to tear the latter to pieces. Feng Wu smiled. I have good news for uncle. What good news? I'm not telling you. Get lost. Feng Lu bellowed. You're not welcome here. Get out of my sight. It's about that position of Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel. Are you sure my uncle doesn't want to hear about it? Feng Wu said unhurriedly. Feng Lu was nothing but an ant to her. Let her in. Feng Yanfeng gritted his teeth. Feng Wu raised an eyebrow at Feng Lu provocatively, which infuriated the latter. What news would make Feng Wu come here in person? Feng Lu ran off to fetch her mother right away. What news? Feng Yanfeng sat behind the table. The bruises on his face were almost gone. However, he still seemed to be seething with anger. He hadn't forgiven Feng Wu yet. Feng Wu sat down at the table without an invitation and smiled at Feng Yanfeng. Uncle, how would you like to become the Assistant Minister of the Ministry of Official Personnel? How would he like it? She sounded as if she could get him that position with a nod of her head. That was a third-rank post of the empire. Uncle, have you forgotten? I'm Feng Sun's friend. Feng Wu smiled at him. If young Lord Feng had a hand in this, given his relationship with the Crown Prince, he could easily make Feng Yanfeng a minister, not to mention an assistant minister. Feng Yanfeng suddenly recalled that Feng Sun had indeed greeted Feng Wu when they were at the Yan Manor. But did they know each other well enough for Feng Sun to get Feng Yanfeng that position? Chapter 426, Reap What One Sows. Plus, do you still remember that teenager who beat you guys up last night? Feng Wu said with a half-smile. Feng Yanfeng jumped to his feet with a livid face. How dare you? Feng Yanfeng raised a hand to slap Feng Wu. It was an utter humiliation for Feng Yanfeng. However, Feng Wu only stared at him with a haughty look on her face and didn't try to dodge. Feng Xiaoqi had woken up this morning as a level 3 spiritual master. Feng Wu had also made some progress herself. She was a level 2 spiritual grandmaster now. At this speed, she would become a spiritual elder soon. Once she became a spiritual elder, she would win a place for herself in the cultivation circle in the imperial capital. Feng Wu had confidence in herself and she was very level-headed. Feng Yanfeng's hand almost landed on Feng Wu's face when he saw the calm look in her eyes. Involuntarily, his hand shifted a little and it brushed past Feng Wu's fair cheek. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu smiled. Uncle, are you sure you don't want that position? Of course he wanted it. He wanted it more than anything else. Feng Yanfeng stared at Feng Wu. Your terms. By now, he knew perfectly well that Feng Wu was no ordinary girl. This girl could always surprise him. 100,000 taels of silver. What? Feng Yanfeng smacked the table. Are you out of your mind? That's ridiculous. Outside, Feng Lu was hurrying back to the study with her mother. Hearing Feng Yanfeng's roar, they exchanged looks and both let out breaths of relief. Feng Wu was an idiot. After what happened last night, Feng Yanfeng would never be on her side. She should consider herself lucky if Feng Yanfeng didn't strangle her at that moment. I hope father kills her himself. Feng Lu clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. It won't be long, her mother swore. Soon, the door opened. Lady Wang and Feng Lu straightened up immediately. Their eyes widened when they saw Feng Wu come out without a scratch. The girl then left without sparing them a look. She left just like that. Lady Wang and Feng Lu watched as Feng Wu left. They then looked at each other before turning to Feng Yanfeng. My lord. Dad. They each took one of Feng Yanfeng's arms. Feng Lu clenched her fists. Dad, why didn't you beat her up? Why did you let her leave just like that? Lady Wang eyed Feng Yanfeng eagerly as well, waiting for an explanation. However, Feng Yanfeng only cast Feng Lu a stern look. You ask too much for a young lady. But Feng Wu let an outsider beat us up. Dad, you. Feng Lu was going to slander Feng Wu behind her back, but it only reminded Feng Yanfeng of what had happened at the Yan Manor and of the beating he had received from that mysterious teenager. That set him off right away and he slapped Feng Lu. None of that would have happened if it wasn't for you. You're the source of all my troubles. Feng Yanfeng then glared at Lady Wang. She's grounded for 3 months. Don't let her out. He stormed off after that, leaving the baffled Lady Wang and Feng Lu behind. Both were regretting showing up in the first place. Had they known this was going to happen, they would never have come here to laugh at Feng Wu's predicament. As it turned out, nothing happened to Feng Wu, but they had to reap what they had sown. They felt like crying, but no tears would come. Feng Wu sat on the wall of Fallen Star Yard. From there, she could see everything of Grand Secretary Fang's manor next door. It was exactly as Uncle Chiu said. Grand Secretary Fang's manor had a wonderful layout. Sitting there with her legs dangling over the wall, Feng Wu was already planning how to set up the formation once they moved in. Chapter 427, A Place of Treasure. The more Feng Wu thought about it, the more excited she became. However, at that moment Feng Wu saw the steward of the manor showing several people in. The one leading the group was a teenage girl in a lilac dress. She was about 15 or 16 years of age and looked quite mature already. She had an aggressive type of beauty and there was something wild and fierce about her. Her own steward walked behind her and was chatting pleasantly with Steward Fang. Yi Yifei. She was Zhuo Qinghuan's elder cousin. That was why she looked so familiar. Feng Wu recalled that Yi Yifei used to follow Zhuo Qinghuan everywhere like a minion. What's she doing here? Feng Wu frowned. Because of the branches of the Chinese parasol tree, Feng Wu could see Yi Yifei, but Yi Yifei couldn't see Feng Wu. Does she want to buy this manor as well? Feng Wu murmured with a frown. Feng Wu hadn't been that into this manor in the beginning. However, she had already figured out how to draw the spiritual energy of the lake here for her formation, and she didn't want her plan to go to waste now. As a level 2 spiritual grandmaster, Feng Wu had exceptionally sharp hearing and sight, which enabled her to hear the conversation between the two stewards. My master is retiring soon and the manor is up for sale. Yes, for 100,000 taels of silver. The money alone isn't enough. You'll have to pass my master's test as well. Steward Fang handed them a piece of paper. Here's the problem. Whoever solves it is eligible to purchase the house. Yi Yifei took the piece of paper, had a look, and frowned. What's this? Steward Fang only smiled. Miss Yi, if you don't know what it is, you're probably not the right owner for this manor, Steward Fang said indifferently. Please come back in 3 days after you've solved the problem. After that, Steward Fang was ready to see them out. From where she was, Feng Wu couldn't see the question on the paper, but her attention was caught by an ancient well in the center of the courtyard. Am I seeing things? Feng Wu rubbed her eyes. When she opened her eyes again, she could still see the purple glow in the well. Thanks to her beautiful master's teachings, Feng Wu had read a lot of books across all subjects. Her eyes lit up when she saw that flickering purple glow under the sunlight. Feng Tutu. Just then, Feng Tutu jumped out and dashed off toward that well. Feng Tutu. Feng Wu covered her eyes. Yi Yifei and her people hadn't left yet. Would they spot Feng Tutu? Luckily, Feng Tutu was very fast and it jumped into the well before any of them noticed. Seeing that Steward Fang had gone away to see the guests out, Feng Wu jumped down from the wall, and the next second, she was next to the well. Looking down, she noticed immediately that it was a dry well. And it had been that way for quite a long time, for the bottom was covered with rubble and dry leaves. But she couldn't see Feng Tutu anywhere. Feng Wu was surprised. She was certain that Feng Tutu had jumped into this well. Where was it now? Picking up a handful of sand, Feng Wu gave it a sniff. It smelled like. Feng Wu placed her right palm flat on the ground and reached downward with her spiritual essence, like a tree extending its roots. Chapter 428, A Load? Just then, footsteps approached from outside again. Steward Fang, this manor. Sir Su, my master has stipulated a rule with regards to the sale of the manor. Only those that can answer this question will be eligible to purchase it. Steward Fang gave out another piece of paper. Sir Su. Feng Wu had no idea who that was, but she knew that she couldn't be spotted now. For Feng Tutu had come out with a translucent spiritual stone in its mouth. Judging by the appearance, it was a supreme-grade spiritual stone. And it was worth a small fortune. Feng Wu put away that spiritual stone immediately. Because of its grade, an advanced cultivator could easily detect its presence. As expected, Sir Su frowned just as Feng Wu put away that spiritual stone. What? He had detected a streak of spiritual energy, but it disappeared almost right away. Was he mistaken? Sir Su frowned. That only made him more eager. He had to have this manor. When Steward Fang went to see Sir Su off, Feng Wu jumped out of the well with Feng Tutu, and the next second, she was back in her own yard. She had hidden the stone in her ring to stop Sir Su from detecting it. Now, she finally had time to examine it closely. Regular people used bronze, silver, and gold as their means of payment. But for cultivators, spiritual stones were the actual currency they used. For all cultivators needed spiritual stones to progress in their cultivation. In the Junwu Empire, based on the purity and concentration of spiritual energy, spiritual stones were categorized into 4 grades: low grade, medium grade, top grade, and the rarest supreme grade. The one Feng Tutu found was a top-grade spiritual stone. Most of the spiritual stones in circulation on the market were of low and medium grade. Top-grade ones were very rarely found and inordinately expensive. Feng Wu examined the shape of the spiritual stone. It hadn't been cut by any tools, but had been broken off by Feng Tutu. Wait! Feng Wu's eyes lit up. Could it be that the spiritual stone hadn't been buried there on purpose? And what was down there was a spiritual stone mine. And top-grade spiritual stone for that matter? Feng Wu was thrilled. Seriously? She had grown up in the Feng Manor. How could she have failed to notice a top-grade spiritual stone lode beneath the Feng Manor, which was only 1 wall away from her own home? If that was the case with the Feng Manor, what about the Feng Manor? Sitting down with her legs crossed, Feng Wu sent a streak of spiritual essence down into the ground. However, with her current capability, she could only make it as deep as 15 meters. And she detected no such lode in those 15 meters. Feng Wu turned to Feng Tutu. Is there a lode underground over here? Feng Tutu looked at Feng Wu in bewilderment. Holding that top-grade spiritual stone in one hand, Feng Wu pointed at the ground with her free hand. This? Do we have it here? Feng Tutu shook its head, then nodded. What was that supposed to mean? Feng Wu was at a loss. But Feng Tutu was a cub after all. Even if it was able to detect treasure, the range would be rather limited. Feng Wu's hand curled into a fist. I have to get the Feng Manor next door. That was a top-grade spiritual stone lode. Even an extremely prestigious family like Feng Sun's would be thrilled by such a discovery, not to mention Feng Wu. For no price was high enough for top-grade spiritual stones. Chapter 429, The Dispirited Crown Prince. If Feng Wu had only thought the Feng Manor a possible choice before, she was now determined to become the next owner of the manor. Uncle Chiu, I don't think you should get involved. Let Yu Minji do it, Feng Wu said. She couldn't let Uncle Chiu be seen in the Feng Manor, for many people knew Uncle Chiu as Feng Wu's steward and they would be easily reminded of Feng Wu. Before she was influential enough, Feng Wu would try to stay as low-key as possible. That way, her uncle wouldn't be alerted and she could avoid getting shouted at. Uncle Chiu nodded with a smile. No problem. He turned to leave after that, but he stopped all of a sudden. Turning around, he looked at Feng Wu in surprise. That gave Feng Wu the creeps. Uncle Chiu, what's wrong? Miss, tears welled up in Uncle Chiu's eyes. Yes? All eyes were on Uncle Chiu. What was wrong? Granny Zhao was especially nervous. Staring at Uncle Chiu, she prompted, speak. What is it? Sob, Uncle Chiu broke into uncontrollable sobs. What on earth happened? Tell me. Gosh, you're killing me here. Granny Zhao was exasperated. She thought that some other unspeakable rumor about her mistress was going around again. I think I'm going to break through. Uncle Chiu looked at Feng Wu in excitement. Miss. I'm going to level up. Uncle Chiu had been stuck at level 8 for so many years. He had kept trying, but without success. However, after trying the manual Miss Feng Wu gave him last night and today, Feng Wu was also pleasantly surprised. She had expected to see progress in Uncle Chiu in 10 days, but as it turned out, it only took Uncle Chiu 1 day to achieve that. It seemed that Uncle Chiu had more potential than she expected. That was great, for the stronger Uncle Chiu was, the safer this family would become. Feng Wu said in a hurry, your top priority now is to break through. Miss this one and you'll never know when your next epiphany will be. Uncle Chiu nodded repeatedly, for Feng Wu was telling the truth. Uncle Chiu, leave the purchase of the house to me. I'll go get you Minji. But, miss, I'm looking forward to seeing you as a level 9 spiritual master when I come back. Feng Wu beamed at him. Of course. Uncle Chiu nodded in excitement. Feng Wu thought to herself as she walked out that Uncle Chiu alone wasn't going to be enough to guard her family. She would have to hire more loyal servants when she had the chance. She was out of the manor and a street away from home by the time she realized something that she didn't know where Yu Minji lived. Uncle Chiu had his address, but Feng Wu smiled in resignation. Uncle Chiu was at the critical point of his breakthrough, which could take anything from hours to days. She couldn't afford to wait that long. Well, she had to get Feng Sun now, which didn't make any difference to her. The Crown Prince's residence. Your Royal Highness. Jun Linyuan was sitting there in a trance-like state. That was something he had never done before. But now, he was sitting by Nameless Lake and staring at the swans on it with a blank face. Chang San hurried over at that moment. As the captain of His Royal Highness's personal guard, Chang San had been sent to keep a watch on the Feng Manor. What had he ever done to deserve that? Your Royal Highness, Miss Feng Wu went to Northern Feng Mansion. Then, to Chang San's astonishment, his dispirited master bolted up from the rocking chair like a spring and grabbed him by the collar. What did you say? His Royal Highness was so frightening. Chang San shuddered at his furious voice. Chapter 430, Enemies are bound to meet. Why, Your Royal Highness? Chang San was genuinely frightened. Endless spiritual energy spread out from Jun Linyuan like a formidable dark storm. Crack. Turning around, Chang San saw that Nameless Lake, which had been rippling with blue waves a moment ago, had frozen over. Moreover, the ice was cracking as he watched. That was so terrifying. Jun Linyuan then tossed Chang San aside and headed for the gate. Chang San patted his chest, still shaken. To others, he was the extraordinary General Chang, but when the Crown Prince was around, Feng, who had been standing next to Jun Linyuan, darted a casual look at Chang San before following his master out. That look finally made Chang San see the light. That was it. He totally saw it now. Holy shit. General Chang, who was known for his seriousness and discretion, smacked himself on his thigh. How could he have missed that? His Royal Highness was obviously jealous. He was so in love with Miss Feng Wu. Recalling how he had offended Miss Feng Wu, Chang San broke into a cold sweat. At the same time, Feng Wu was outside Northern Feng Mansion. It was as grand as she had expected. Two enormous stone lions stood on either side of the gate, looking magnificent and mighty. Those eyes had an intimidating feel to them. Feng Wu was stopped at the gate. She got right to the point. I'm here to see Feng Sun. May we have your name please? Impressed with Feng Wu's stunning beauty and posture, the captain of the guards asked the question politely. He was going through various names in his head, since when was there such a beauty in the imperial capital? Why hadn't he heard of this? Tell him that it's Miss Wu of the Feng family, Feng Wu said proudly, crossing her hands behind her back. Miss Wu of the Feng family. The captain's eyes widened and he looked intrigued. That Miss Feng Wu who was supposed to have fallen. Miss Wu, please wait here a moment. The captain went inside in a hurry. Feng Sun's courtyard was called No Mercy. Right now, the door to No Mercy Yard was tightly shut. Knock, knock, the captain knocked on the door. Sir, miss. Go away. Feng Sun bellowed in irritation. But sir, it's... I don't care who it is. I'm not coming out even if it's Jun Linyuan himself. Seeing his bruised face in the mirror, young Lord Feng wanted to cry. How was he supposed to go out with a face like this? Rejected, the captain shook his head, sighed, and headed back. It wasn't that he didn't want to help, but his master wouldn't see anyone. Miss Feng Wu, young Lord Feng isn't seeing any visitors today. Captain Zhou smiled at Feng Wu awkwardly. I'm afraid you'll have to come back some other day. Feng Wu frowned a little. He's not receiving visitors. No. He said so himself. Yes. Naturally, Captain Zhou omitted the part about Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu was bewildered. Why wouldn't Feng Sun see her? Something wasn't right here. Sorry about turning you down, Captain Zhou said attentively. Miss Wu, are you all right going back on your own? Shall I arrange an escort for you? To be fair, Captain Zhou was a kind man. However, why, isn't it Feng Xiaowu? What? You're in trouble and need young Lord Feng to save you, said a taunting voice. Feng Wu looked up. So, it was true. Enemies were bound to meet. Chapter 431, The Feng Manor. It was none other than Mu Yaoyao herself. Mu Yaoyao came out of Northern Feng Mansion, walked around Feng Wu, and looked the latter up and down. She smacked her lips. Weren't you crazy about His Royal Highness? And weren't you cuddling with Yu Minji in the street after dark? Why, you've moved on to young Lord Feng now. Well, he won't even see you. Ha ha ha. After she was done laughing at Feng Wu, Mu Yaoyao said to Captain Zhou, this is Miss Feng Wu. That's right, the useless Miss Wu, who can think of nothing but chasing after men. Get her out of here before she upsets young Lord Feng. After that, Mu Yaoyao left with a gloating smile on her face. Immediately, everyone looked at Feng Wu strangely. Crazy about His Royal Highness? Cuddling with Yu Minji in the dark? And she was after young Lord Feng now. Wait. The girl was so pretty and elegant. Could she really be that kind of person? Captain Zhou frowned. He wasn't going to offer Feng Wu any help anymore, but was going to chase her away. Just then, a carriage stopped outside the manor and some maids helped a graceful noble lady down from the magnificent vehicle. Little Feng Wu. Lady Northern Feng's eyes lit up when she spotted Feng Wu. Lady Northern Feng dismissed her maids Ziyuan and Lan Yuan immediately and hurried toward Feng Wu. Her pretty eyes twinkled with excitement as she said in surprise, Little Feng Wu, it's really you. Lady Northern Feng was really fond of Feng Wu, to the point that she wanted to smuggle Feng Wu into Northern Feng Mansion and raise the girl as her own daughter. She would have defended Feng Wu during the banquet at the Yen Manor, but one thing led to another, and before she could do so, Feng Wu was gone. Lady Northern Feng? Feng Wu smiled wholeheartedly. If it wasn't for the lady's help 5 years ago, Feng Wu wouldn't have been able to take her family all the way to northern border city when she had been so weak herself. It's really you. As a daughter of a general, Lady Northern Feng was very forthright herself. She greeted Feng Wu with a smack on the latter's shoulder. What were you thinking? You haven't come visit me after you got back. I see you've forgotten about me. Before Feng Wu could say another word, Lady Northern Feng went on. Look at you. You were such a pretty little thing back then and you're stunning now. No man will be good enough for you. Captain Zhou mumbled something at that moment. What was that? Lady Northern Feng caught a word or two of what he said, and she frowned and asked the question in a harsh tone. Intimidated by Lady Northern Feng's stern countenance, Captain Zhou lowered his gaze. It was something Miss Mu said before she left. She said that Miss Feng wouldn't leave His Royal Highness alone, but she was hitting on Yuminji the Sacred Son at the same time, and that she was moving on to our young lord now. Smack! Lady Northern Feng flared up. That's bullshit. What was she thinking? Xiao Wu would never do those things. Do all noble young ladies nowadays behave that way? Slandering other people with the most groundless rumors? Go get Mu Yaoyao back here. I'm going to question her myself. Despite how fierce the lady was, Captain Zhou never questioned anything she said. He saw the light immediately. So, Miss Mu had made all those things up. Young ladies nowadays were so unbelievable. Chapter 432, Lady Northern Feng. Captain Zhou sent a team of his men to go after Mu Yaoyao. Lady Northern Feng, on the other hand, held Feng Wu's hand affectionately. Such a beautiful girl. There was both childlike innocence and wisdom in her eyes. The girl wore an ankle-length sky-blue dress and a crimson fur coat with piping made from white fox fur. The outfit set off her flawless skin, which was so fair that it seemed transparent. Lady Northern Feng loved that unassuming and neat look, not to mention that she found the girl's temperament most compatible. Come, let's catch up inside. Lady Northern Feng wanted to lead Feng Wu into the mansion. However, Feng Wu only smiled. Aunt Feng, I'm here to see Feng Sun. Feng Sun. Lady Northern Feng's eyes sparkled. The girl had come here just to see Feng Sun. Was she fond of Feng Sun? Lady Northern Feng was elated. Taking Feng Wu's hand, she asked in a trembling voice, Kiddo, you want to see Feng Sun? Do you know each other? Feng Wu nodded. We've met a few times. No problem. One of Lady Northern Feng's greatest wishes back then was to have little Feng Wu as a daughter-in-law, and she offered her help with delight. Come. I'll take you to that dumb boy. Teehee. Things are looking up. Lady Northern Feng thought happily to herself. Outside Feng Sun's No Mercy yard. Thump, thump, thump. Lady Northern Feng banged on the door. Ziyuan and Lan Yuan exchanged looks and both wished they could be somewhere else. Their lady behaved like anything but a noble lady. One would easily take her for a she-bandit, what? An impatient voice bellowed inside. Feng Sun was full of despair. Boss Jun showed up last night and challenged him for no reason. When Feng Sun was finally about to circulate his spiritual essence in his body to help with the bruises on his face, someone banged on his door. Is Feng Sun in the middle of something? Feng Wu frowned. Aunt Feng, I can come back some other day. Lady Northern Feng was exasperated. Her future daughter-in-law had come to visit and her stupid son was sabotaging everything. Lady Northern Feng gave the door a kick. Thump. The door to No Mercy yard fell down at the impact. Ziyuan and Lan Yuan both looked up at the sky, pretending not to have seen anything. Let's go. Lady Northern Feng grabbed Feng Wu's hand and dragged her in. Feng Sun's stomach lurched when he heard his mother's voice. Shit! He was finally able to lighten the bruises on his face, only for them to expand in size, which made him look horrendous. Whoosh! The stylish young Lord Feng ran to his bed and wrapped a thick duvet around himself, head included. Lady Northern Feng charged in, dragging Feng Wu behind her. Feng Wu smiled in resignation. I think I can come back another day. No, I won't let you do that. Lady Northern Feng led Feng Wu into the bedroom. Wait, where is he? Looking around, Lady Northern Feng couldn't find Feng Sun anywhere. She was ready to leave when she noticed the situation on the bed. You brat! I was finally able to get Xiao Wu to come here and you're hiding yourself under a duvet? Didn't you cry your eyes out when you were 3, saying that you were going to defeat His Royal Highness and take little Feng Wu away? Lady Northern Feng, the merciless mother, yanked the duvet off. Whoosh! Feng Sun looked up when he lost his cover. Lady Northern Feng burst out laughing when she saw Feng Sun's heavily bruised face. Chapter 433, Trust me on this. Feng Sun was full of despair. He knew it. He knew it. Other mothers would burst into tears and shower their children with endearments if they found their babies beaten up like this, but what did his mother do? She laughed. Feng Sun was seriously considering the possibility that he was a giveaway in some buy one get one free deal. Ha ha ha. Feng Sun looked at his mother with an impassive face. She wasn't just laughing. She was cracking up. Was she really his mother? Gosh. What happened to you, dummy? Who did this to you? Poor kid. Ha ha ha. Lady Northern Feng laughed until she was in tears. Feng Sun felt like crying. What was his mother thinking? She could at least offer him some comforting words. No one did this to me. I had a fight. F-I-G-H-T. Ever heard of that? Feng Sun tried to defend himself. With whom? Boss June, of course. Feng Sun said proudly. Teehee, Lady Northern Feng burst into laughter again. Are you sure that was a fight? I think it was more like a slaughter. Feng Sun was speechless. He had to have a real mother somewhere in this world. Growing up, the biggest bully in his life was none other than his mother here. Feng Wu couldn't hold back her laughter anymore. Only then did Feng Sun realize that there was someone else in the room. Turning his bruised, swollen face, he saw who it was and he jumped out of bed. Little Feng Wu. Looking from Feng Sun's hideous face to Feng Wu's stunning one, Lady Northern Feng sighed inwardly. Her dumb boy was never going to be good enough for the brilliant girl. How sad. Lady Northern Feng rubbed her forehead. I'll leave you young people to solve your problems on your own. I'm too old for this. She left after that, taking Ziyuan and Lan Yuan with her. Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu and was obviously ashamed of the way he looked right now. Why did Jun Linyuan beat you up? Feng Wu sat down on a hammock opposite Feng Sun in a familiar manner and grinned at him. I told you already, it was a fight. We fought. Feng Sun stressed. To be more precise, Boss Jun challenged me first. Poor Feng Sun. Everything he said was true, but Feng Wu wouldn't believe him. He's so much more powerful than you, why would he do that? He's not stupid, Feng Wu tossed a pine nut in her mouth and asked in an unhurried tone. Feng Sun scratched his head. He couldn't figure it out himself either. Why had Boss Jun done that? What's going on with Boss Jun? He warned me when he left, telling me to keep my distance from a person. But who did I get so close to? Feng Sun frowned. He was completely at a loss. So, he decided to put that aside and warned Feng Wu instead. Little Feng Wu, I need to tell you something. What? Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun in bewilderment. Feng Sun said earnestly, Boss Jun is really weird these days. He's peevish and unpredictable. So, don't get close to him, and when you see him, keep your distance. You better leave ASAP when you see him. Understand? Feng Wu was bemused. Is that really necessary? Of course. Of course it's necessary. Feng Sun stressed and patted his chest. I grew up with Boss Jun and I know him the best. Just trust me on this. Feng Wu said, whatever. Chapter 434, Boss Jun is here. I don't know why, but Boss Jun seems to find you particularly unlikable. Why, don't be sad. Feng Sun patted Feng Wu on the shoulder. I like you. Feng Wu brushed Feng Sun's hand off her shoulder and threw a dirty look at him. Just then, a gust of wind blew in through the gate. Rumble. No Mercy Yard, which was equipped with an advanced defense system, cracked under the impact. Feng Sun jumped at the sound, and before he knew it, he was shielding Feng Wu with his own body. He then looked up in the direction of the gate. The aura was formidable. The power was dark and terrifying. And the person could make one shudder in fear. Boss Jun. Seeing how dark Boss Jun's impeccable face was, Feng Sun felt his heart skip a beat. Feng Wu. Boss Jun bellowed. Get the hell out of there. Feng Sun saw the light right away. So, little Feng Wu had offended Boss Jun again. For some reason, Boss Jun seemed to find fault with everything she did. Since he was Jun Lin Yuan's childhood friend, Feng Sun thought he could intervene. Keeping Feng Wu behind him, he said, Boss Jun, if Feng Wu has offended you somehow, please go away. Jun Lin Yuan roared at Feng Sun. The terrifying sound wave tore the roof open. Feng Sun blanched. Little Feng Wu was a cripple and Boss Jun looked so pissed. One slap and he could easily kill the girl. At that thought, Feng Sun said in a hurry, Boss Jun, if you want to hit someone, hit me instead. Jun Lin Yuan thought his head was going to explode. He had warned Feng Sun already, telling him to stay away from Feng Wu, but what did he do? The two of them were alone in a room and were all lovey-dovey. Even someone with a milder temperament would lose their temper, let alone the crown prince, who was very irascible. Feng arrived in time to hear what Feng Sun said. And the steward rolled his eyes in resignation. Jun Lin Yuan darted a look at Feng. Feng took the hint right away. He went up to Feng Wu and said politely, Miss Wu, this is a duel between two men. If you wouldn't mind, please wait outside. A duel between two men. Feng Wu frowned. That was a strange choice of words. Xiao Wu, get out of here. Feng Sun shouted at Feng Wu. Feng Wu glanced at Jun Lin Yuan, who was staring at Feng Sun with a grim look on his face, as if he was going to eat Feng Sun whole. Something didn't feel right. Feng Wu scratched her head, but couldn't figure out what it was. She had no choice but to go out as instructed. Feng followed her out and closed the gate behind them. Feng was about to drop Feng Wu some hints when a teenage boy scampered toward them. Brother Feng, the third one. His eyes widened when he spotted Feng and he abruptly stopped talking. Mr. Feng, the teenager faltered. Feng greeted him with a nod. Hello, young Master Mu the Sixth. Young Master Mu the Sixth. As in Mu Yuje. The sixth son of Lord Mu. Feng Wu remembered young Master Mu as this boy who followed Feng Sun around when they were little. By the looks of it, he was still doing that. Young Master Mu looked surprised when he spotted Feng Wu. Such a pretty girl. Which family was she from? Just then, they heard Feng Sun's voice inside the room. I don't care. I like little Feng Wu. I like her and I like her. Bang! Something heavy smashed on the floor and young Master Mu's stomach lurched. Chapter 435, BFFs. Young Master Mu gleaned a lot of information from that statement. So, his brother Feng III liked a girl called Little Feng Wu. Feng turned a gaze devoid of warmth on the teenager. Young Master Mu, can I help you with anything? Young Master Mu's stomach lurched and he replied with an ingratiating smile on his face, no, that's all right. I was just taking a walk. That's all. After that, young Master Mu darted another curious look at Feng Wu and ran off. After hanging out with Feng Sun all these years, of course he knew who Feng was. What did it mean when Feng showed up? It meant that Boss Jun was around. Young Master Mu was dauntless, but only when Jun Linyuan wasn't around. So, he turned around and fled the scene without hesitation. Feng looked at Feng Wu and sighed. She was such a smart girl, but why was she so dumb in this aspect? Feng was vexed. He couldn't just blurt it out. Miss Wu, may I ask what you need young Master Feng for? Feng Wu replied after some thought, I have my eye on a manor and I'd like Feng Sun to purchase it on my behalf. May I ask which manor is it? Feng asked. It's Grand Secretary Feng's manor. No sound came from inside the room, and Feng Wu frowned. I think it'll take them a while to finish. I'm off. She didn't think Jun Linyuan would do actual harm to Feng Sun, so she left after waving goodbye to Feng. Feng Wu decided to have a look at the Feng Manor after she left Northern Feng Mansion. However, she heard a racket as soon as she walked out into the street. An angry female voice shouted, Duan Chaoga. You broke the antique vase and cut my hand. You're going to pay for this. Duan Chaoga? Feng Wu recalled one of her childhood playmates, whose name was Duan Chaoga. She was the neglected daughter of her father's concubine and the Duan family offered her to Feng Wu as a partner in training. In fact, they were making Duan Chaoga a servant for Feng Wu. Needless to say, Feng Wu just treated the girl as her equal and a friend. Chaoga? Was that her? Feng Wu turned in that direction and she frowned at what she saw. It was a rotund girl. She was of the same height as Feng Wu, but she had to weigh about 3 times more. She was too overweight to even walk properly. She had a multi-layered chin on her very round face. However, Feng Wu could still recognize the girl she used to play with. It really was Duan Chaoga. Tears welled up in Feng Wu's eyes when she saw Duan Chaoga like this. What had Chaoga gone through? Why was she like this? Feng Wu then noticed that the person who had grabbed Duan Chaoga by the hair was Yi Yifei, the girl who wanted to purchase the Feng Manor. Duan Chaoga. You're going to pay for this. Pulling Duan Chaoga's hair, Yi Yifei smirked. You look like a pig. Weren't you Feng Wu's minion? Have you become as useless as her? You're the ugliest piece of shit I've ever seen. Say whatever you want about me, but leave Xiao Wu out of this. Chaoga charged at Yi Yifei with all her might. Caught by surprise, Yi Yifei was knocked over. Crumbled out, she bumped into a shelf full of antiques which all tumbled down, and she was buried in broken porcelain pieces. Feng Wu was speechless. Duan Chaoga was equally frightened. She stood there, looking flustered, and was at a loss over what to do. Smack! Duan Chaoga was slapped hard on her cheek. Chapter 436, How much? You bitch! How dare you push Sister Yifei? Things have changed since 5 years ago. Kneel and apologize to Sister Yifei. With those words, a girl tried to kick Duan Chaoga in the back of her knees. That's enough. A chilly voice rang out. The girls looked up and saw a stunning girl walk over. She was as pretty as a picture. She was so beautiful. Who was she? Xiao Wu. Are you Xiao Wu? Duan Chaoga, who had worshipped Feng Wu since she was little, asked in a trembling voice. Feng Wu. Staring at Feng Wu, Yi Yifei was astonished. How could anyone be this beautiful? Zhuo Qinghuan was known for her beauty, but compared with Feng Wu. Yes, it's me, Feng Wu replied with a frown. What's going on? Xiao Wu sobbed, like someone who had just found a rock in the shifting sands of her existence. Chaoga dashed toward Feng Wu in excitement. Xiao Wu, you're back. You're really back, sob. Heh. Yi Yifei smirked. I was wondering who would be ignorant enough to stick their nose into this. So, it's you, Miss Wu of the Feng clan. Miss Feng Wu, aren't you a useless piece of shit now? Are you sure you're not biting off more than you can chew? Feng Wu glanced at Chaoga. And Chaoga quickly told her what happened. It was as Feng Wu suspected. Yi Yifei had asked for the antique piece Chaoga was holding, and with no idea how to handle such a piece properly, Chaoga had handed Yi Yifei the whistling vase straight away. However, Yi Yifei drew back her hands before the vase reached her, and with a crash the vase fell to the floor with a crisp sound, shattered, and cut Yi Yifei's hand in the process. This is an antique vase made by imperial order in the previous dynasty and is one of a kind. Yi Yifei stared at Feng Wu with a half-smile. Isn't Chaoga your minion? I'm sure you won't stand by and do nothing. Feng Wu glanced at the whistling vase and she saw immediately that it was a genuine piece with a signature on the bottom. Made by Yu Wei. Yu Wei was a renowned formation master of the previous dynasty, and a whistling vase could do more than just whistle. As expected, the owner of Elegant Ink Gallery came out with a long face. Miss Duan, that was a whistling vase made by Master Yu Wei himself and it was reserved for a client. What am I going to do now that you've destroyed it? It wasn't me, Chaoga pointed at Yi Yifei. She drew back her hands first. Mr. Mo said with a grimace, Miss Duan, you should have followed the rules of an antiques shop. When other customers ask for something you're holding, you should put it down first, then the other party can pick it up. Duan Chaoga shook her head. How was she supposed to know that? Feng Wu realized that Yi Yifei had set Chaoga up. Mr. Mo handed Feng Wu the base of the vase. Look, see that? It proves that this is Master Yu Wei's work. Miss, I'm not trying to trick you. It really is Master Yu Wei's work. And how much is it worth? Feng Wu darted an indifferent glance at Mr. Mo. To Feng Wu, Chaoga had always been a little sister to her. She couldn't bring herself to see Chaoga trembling like a bunny like this. Moreover, those people were doing this to Chaoga because she was Feng Wu's friend. At the end of the day, Duan Chaoga had been implicated because of Feng Wu. Mr. Mo smiled bitterly. Miss Feng, Master Yu Wei's work can't be measured in terms of money, for it comes with a formation, which can help with cultivation. I believe you should know that. Chapter 437, The Whistling Vase. Master Yu Wei's work indeed comes with spiritual formations. Feng Wu nodded. So, this whistling vase is worth 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Mr. Mo smiled. 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones? Are you kidding me? Where am I supposed to get that many spiritual stones? Chaoga was terrified. It was common knowledge that spiritual stones were the hard currency in the cultivation circle, more so than actual gold and silver. However, spiritual stones were scarce in quantity and supply always fell short of demand. Hence, the price of spiritual stones had always been exorbitantly high. Well, you can't come up with that much money, but your Feng Wu can. Right, Miss Feng Wu. Yi Yifei glanced at Feng Wu with a half-smile. I'd like to see you cast Duan Chaoga aside. Of course Feng Wu wasn't going to abandon her friend. Moreover, she needed to find an opportunity to talk to Chaoga. How had that petite, slim girl from 5 years ago become such a butterball? Although, the most important thing now was to take care of Mr. Mo and Yi Yifei. Feng Wu ignored Yi Yafei and turned to Mr. Mo. 1,000 spiritual stones would be a fair price if this were an authentic work by Master Yue. Actually, you could almost call it a bargain. Mr. Mo's kind smile vanished and his face twisted. What? Is Miss Feng suggesting that this whistling vase is a fake? Of course it's fake, Feng Wu said without hesitation. Mr. Mo flared up. Miss Feng, are you saying that Elegant Ink Gallery knowingly cheats our customers? Glancing at the pile of broken porcelain pieces on the floor and the shelf that Yi Yafei knocked over when Chaoga bumped into her, Mr. Mo smirked. Good, you got my hint. Feng Wu nodded. Chaoga is responsible for breaking this whistling vase because she didn't know the rules of an antique shop. That's a lesson she needs to learn. However, we're not going to pay the 1,000 spiritual stones. You'll get 1,000 taels of silver instead. Mr. Mo's face darkened. Yi Yafei snorted before he could say anything. 1,000 taels of silver. Are you paying off a beggar? Do you know who the owner of Elegant Ink Gallery is? Who might that be? Feng Wu was actually intrigued. Mr. Mo said, this whistling vase is our 6th young master's favorite. He reserved it for his mother's birthday, and I don't think the young master will find 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones enough. By now, a large crowd had gathered round, but they stayed on the fringe so as not to accidentally knock over some antique pieces. The 6th young master. Is he referring to the 6th son of Lord Mu? That's him, all right. Young Master Mu is well known in the imperial capital for his unruly behavior. He's well connected and gets along with people both above board and underground. The east side of the city is his territory. There was this time when a third-ranked official came to the imperial capital and offended young Master Mu somehow. That guy ended up being locked up a few days after that. His father is a lord. Of course he's well connected. That's not it. Lord Mu isn't influential enough to remove a third-ranked official from his post. Young Master Mu has a much more formidable acquaintance than his father, said that person in a mysterious voice. Young Master Mu. That jogged Feng Wu's memory. That teenager she met at Feng Sun's place. However, she couldn't connect that cappering teenager with this big boss that everyone was talking about, who associated with both the lawful and lawless. That teen couldn't be the same person, right? Mr. Mo let others introduce the background of this shop before turning his cold gaze on Feng Wu. Miss Feng, are you sure you're going to get involved in this? Feng Wu nodded. Mr. Mo smirked. I think I know where the Feng Manor is. If Miss Feng can't come up with 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones, we'll go fetch it from your clan. Chapter 438, Chaoga. Everyone looked at Feng Wu strangely after those words. This Miss Feng wasn't the one who broke the whistling vase, so she shouldn't have to pay for it. Anyone else would have stayed as far away as possible, let alone make it their responsibility. Little did they expect that Feng Wu would take everything upon herself, which was quite an honorable thing to do. A wise-looking old man in a plain outfit observed Feng Wu with great interest. An elderly steward with a stern, impassive face stood beside him. Despite how stoic he looked, there was no question that he was exceptionally capable in cultivation. Xiao Wu, Chaoga was overwhelmed with a sense of guilt. She knew how arrogant the people of the Feng clan were and what a hard time those people must be giving Xiao Wu. She was here to buy a gift for Xiao Wu today, but look at what she had done. She couldn't do anything without causing trouble. Chaoga felt like slapping herself. Mr. Mo's words didn't make Feng Wu flinch and she only smiled proudly. Mr. Mo, I'm afraid you won't get a chance to do that. Is that so? Mr. Mo, as well as everyone else, was intrigued. Why was Miss Feng so confident that she didn't need to pay for it? Because this whistling vase is a fake. Feng Wu announced it in a calm voice. A fake? Everyone else looked at Mr. Mo in astonishment. Fake? Elegant Ink Gallery sells knockoffs. I bought an incense burner just the other day from this shop. I think I need to have it appraised. Mr. Mo was furious. Face dark, he glared at Feng Wu. Miss Feng. You shouldn't brag about taking responsibility if you can't afford it. Are you going to slander our elegant ink gallery to avoid paying the bill? What's wrong with young ladies nowadays? How can you be so vicious? Yi Yifei crossed her arms and chimed in offhandedly, Mr. Mo, not all young ladies are like this. Miss Wu here is an exception. She's that useless fifth daughter of the Feng family. Everyone let out cries of surprise. Feng Wu used to be so famous 5 years ago. With her talent, everyone in the Junwu Empire thought that she would become the second Jun Linyuan. She's that Feng Wu who was called a genius from young. The one who lost all her abilities 5 years ago. His Royal Highness cancelled his engagement to her, that Feng Wu. And instantly, all eyes were on Feng Wu. This was the girl that had almost become his Royal Highness's wife. That old man in the crowd also gave Feng Wu another glance, as if deep in thought. Chaoga almost broke into tears. She would rather die than see Feng Wu humiliated like this. Xiao Wu, please leave. I can handle this on my own. Chaoga tried to push Feng Wu away, her tone adamant. Feng Wu only smiled and nodded at Chaoga. She then turned to Mr. Mo, you can't turn a fake piece into an authentic one, even if it's been broken and mixed in with 1,000 other pieces. You. Mr. Mo smirked. Fine. If you say it's a fake, prove it. Do that and you won't have to pay a penny. Feng Wu nodded. Deal. Xiao Wu, you, Chaoga really wanted to slap herself. Chapter 439, like I said, a fake. Why did she have to push Yi Yifei? Even if she had to, why did she have to knock over that long shelf full of antiques? Chaoga was almost in tears. Yi Yifei glanced at Feng Wu with a half-smile. There had to be over 10,000 broken pieces here. There was no way she would be able to find the dozens of pieces that belonged to that whistling vase from the pile. Yi Yifei wasn't the only one who thought that way, so did all the onlookers. However, Feng Wu only crouched down and began rummaging through the pile. Soon, she picked out a piece of white porcelain. Chaoga found a piece of cloth and lay it next to Feng Wu. Feng Wu put the broken piece on it. 1, 2, 3. Soon, Feng Wu found 18 broken pieces. Yi Yifei stared at Feng Wu. That's impossible. How did you do that? They can't be all from that vase. Feng Wu darted a quick glance at Yi Yifei. What do you know about antiques? That successfully shut Yi Yifei up. The others all looked at Feng Wu in disbelief. There had to be tens of thousands of broken pieces here and all of them were white. How did she know which was which? No, she had to be picking at random. She would be so embarrassed when she tried to put them together. However, that wise-looking old man's eyes flickered. With his capability, he was able to detect something the others couldn't. Feng Wu saw some glue lying around and she put it to use. She stuck a piece of thin paper on the inside of one porcelain piece before sticking the other pieces onto it. Finally, she put everything on the base, and in under a minute, the whistling vase was put back together. It was intact, tidy, and looked as good as new. Mr. Mo's eyes widened. How was that possible? Feng Wu darted a glance at Mr. Mo in a careless way. Is this the so-called whistling vase made by Master Yue? Mr. Mo couldn't say no. The vase had been put together so perfectly that he had no reason to deny it. Yes, Mr. Mo said through gritted teeth. Sweat began trickling down the sides of his face. With the appraisal and repair skills Miss Feng had just demonstrated, there was no doubt that she was at the master level or above. Good. Feng Wu gave a nod. Holding Feng Wu's arm, Chao burst into tears of joy and she hopped around. Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu. We don't have to pay for it. That's wonderful. Silly girl. Feng Wu hadn't even started yet and she was already over the moon. Mr. Mo stared at Feng Wu. That's right. This is Master Yu Wei's whistling vase. But even when you've repaired it, it won't be as valuable as it was. Isn't that the case, Miss Feng? Feng Wu nodded. That is true, if this was an authentic piece. Are you going to insist that this is a fake? Mr. Mo's face turned livid. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu said proudly, of course it is. Fine, fine. Mr. Mo was so angry that he burst into laughter. Picking up the whistling vase, he called out to the crowd. I believe that everyone here are experts in antiques, and I wonder if someone could help us with the appraisal. I'll do it. An old man in a navy blue robe stepped out and went up to Mr. Mo. Master Bien? Someone cried out in surprise. The legendary Master Bien? Chapter 440, The One-Time Genius. Who's Master Bien? Why do you all know that name? Seriously? You don't know who Master Bien is? He's the master who took part in building Imperial College's essence-gathering formation. Mr. Mo's face lit up when he saw Master Bien. Master Bien. It's nice to see you here in Elegant Ink Gallery again. Formations were related to antiques, which was why Master Bien was a frequent customer here. Crossing his hands behind his back, Master Bien nodded at Mr. Mo with a stern look on his face. He then turned to the whistling vase on the table. Before he said anything, his servant provided him with a pair of fine white gloves. The impassive expression still on his face, Master Bien put on the gloves before he picked up the vase. He then examined it inch by inch with a magnifying glass. All eyes were on Master Bien. Master Bien had helped build Imperial College's essence-gathering formation and was well known on the continent. He was a famous figure in both the formation and antique circles. His words were deemed authoritative. What do you think? Mr. Mo clenched his fists and looked at Master Bien nervously. Master Bien focused mainly on the signature on the base. Finally, he turned his sharp gaze on Feng Wu. The signature belongs to Master Yu Wei and this isn't fake. Wow! Everyone looked at Feng Wu strangely after that initial exclamation. Especially Yi Yifei, who smirked at Feng Wu. Feng Wu, even Master Bien has confirmed that this whistling vase is authentic and that this is Master Yu Wei's real signature. What else do you have to say? Mr. Mo put on a most aggrieved look. Miss Feng Wu, are you still going to insist that this vase is fake? Master Bien stared at Feng Wu with animosity. The wise-looking old man in the crowd looked even more intrigued. However, Feng Wu didn't seem bothered at all. There was something utterly confident about her when she smiled. Yes, it's a fake. By then, the others were staring at Feng Wu in disbelief. She denied it stubbornly even when Master Bien had drawn his conclusion. There was something wrong with this girl's character. Yi Yifei burst into laughter. I've never met anyone as shameless as you. Feng Wu, how can you be so disgusting? It won't turn into a fake just because you say so. Mr. Mo also smirked. Miss Feng, if you don't have that much money on you today, it won't be a problem. Everyone here are witnesses. I can go to the Feng clan to claim it. Even Master Bien was sneering at Feng Wu. He sighed and shook his head. I knew the one-time genius girl had fallen, but how could you have turned into this shameless person? What a pity. That was a very harsh thing to say. As an elderly master, he had made such a comment about Feng Wu, a teenage girl, one couldn't help but wonder what grudge he could have against Feng Wu. What he said inferred that it was Feng Wu's fault and made her a target. And many agreed with Master Bien. They pitted the one-time genius girl for the loss of her abilities. However, now that she had turned into this impudent girl, that pity turned into abhorrence right away. Chapter 441, All Hail Feng Wu. The wise-looking old man was the only one frowning at Master Bien. Feng Wu had no idea what was going on in the crowd. No matter how hard the others tried to smear her reputation, she wasn't intimidated at all. Darting a casual glance at Master Bien, she said unhurriedly, "Master Bien, are you sure about your conclusion?" Master Bien said arrogantly, "Of course. On your reputation." Master Bien threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. A girl like this wasn't even qualified to talk to him on any given day. However, all eyes were watching and Master Bien had to reply in a condescending tone, "Sure." Feng Wu smiled. "Are you sure you don't want to examine it again? Your entire reputation is at stake." "Haha," Master Bien snorted. "That's ridiculous. You're questioning the judgment of Bien Yuliang. This whistling vase is authentic and I can guarantee it on my reputation." Smack. The next second, Feng Wu grabbed the whistling vase and smashed it onto Master Bien's head. It happened so suddenly that it took everyone by surprise. When they realized what had happened, they saw that Master Bien had a bloody cut on his head. The crowd was speechless. Looking at Master Bien, who stood there with a bloody forehead, and Feng Wu, who was as confident as ever, in turn, they didn't know how to react. Only then did Master Bien react to the attack, and he glared at Feng Wu. Crossing her hands behind her back, Feng Wu said in a cold, harsh tone, "How can you miss that? You're a master-level formation master. Do you even know how to use your eyes? I should have dug out your eyeballs and fed them to the dogs, but I'm more merciful than that. Instead, I only borrowed your head." Feng Wu said it in a tone of a superior reprimanding their subordinate. Master Bien was speechless. So was everyone else. Master Bien glared at Feng Wu. "I what?" Feng Wu smirked. "The only thing authentic about this whistling vase is the base. The rest of the vase was stuck on afterward. Only an imbecile like you would call the thing an authentic piece and endorse this elegant ink gallery. That Mr. Mo over there is making money and calling you an idiot in his head." The well-respected Master Bien couldn't stand Feng Wu's insult. Everyone was looking forward to seeing what Master Bien would do to Feng Wu now. However, the look on Master Bien's face changed abruptly. He turned around and stared at Mr. Mo. Mr. Mo was hesitating at that moment, and shaken by Master Bien's sudden stare, he couldn't hide that expression on his face quickly enough. That alarmed Master Bien. Without thinking, he crouched down, took out his magnifying glass, and examined the pieces inch by inch. He blanched right away. Turning to Mr. Mo, Master Bien asked, "What did you say the level of the formation in this whistling vase was?" Master level." Master Bien grabbed an antique bottle and smashed it against Mr. Mo's forehead. "A master-level formation? Don't make me laugh." Master Bien pointed at one of the broken pieces. "If that's really the case, why isn't there any trace left at the eye of the formation? Answer me." Well, a bitter taste filled Mr. Mo's mouth. He turned to Yi Yafei with a pleading look. How could he have anticipated that someone as inconsequential as Duan Chaoga would have such a capable friend? Mr. Mo thought that he had everything under control when he set the girl up with this fake piece. Just then. Chapter 442, Who's the Old Man? The onlookers felt like they were on a roller coaster ride. The reversal simply came too suddenly for them to digest. The looks they gave Feng Wu changed again. They forgot all about calling Feng Wu a shameless girl just moments ago. So, she had been right all along. That whistling vase was really a fake. Mr. Mo was selling fake antiques, and by the looks of it, he was doing it knowingly. Bamboozling innocent customers with fake pieces, his elegant ink gallery had no sense of shame at all. The crowd began to look the shop over with animosity. Everything Mr. Mo had bragged about became evidence against himself now, and even Yi Fei looked embarrassed. They didn't know what to do. While Master Bien was questioning Mr. Mo, Feng Wu had fixed the broken whistling vase again. She clapped her hands. Done. Master Bien stared at Feng Wu in bewilderment. That's your priority? Fixing that fake piece when we're arguing about a much more pressing matter here. Would nothing fluster this girl? All eyes were on Feng Wu now. Feng Wu only smiled. Master Yue's work is so sought after not because of how precious the actual pieces are, but because of the advanced formations in the whistling vases. The more advanced the formation in a whistling vase was, the better it could help with comprehending skills with the wind attribute. Master Bien and the others nodded. That's right. You're going to buy this with 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Feng Wu tossed that repaired whistling vase to Master Bien. Master Bien almost exploded. Since when had he agreed to that? Having been broken twice, this whistling vase was already rickety. There was no way that he could put any formation into it. Plus, having it around would only remind him of the humiliation he had suffered today. No, he wouldn't buy it. However, Feng Wu stood there proudly with a half-smile on her face. She then narrowed her eyes. Master Bien realized that the girl wouldn't cut him loose unless he made the purchase. Fine. I'll take it. Master Bien tossed a pouch to Feng Wu, grabbed the whistling vase, and turned to leave. Feng Wu watched as Master Bien walked out and called after him, "Say hi to Priest Wu for me." Priest Wu. The girl was an acquaintance of his master. No way. Master Bien didn't look back and only hurried off with the vase. He couldn't stand to stay here any longer. The room fell silent after Master Bien departed. Everyone looked at Feng Wu strangely. Feng Wu darted a look at Mr. Mo, which made his stomach lurch. The girl's gaze was as sharp as a cold blade and it gave him the creeps. Feng Wu paid no attention to these people and left with Chaoga. At the same time, Master Bien was walking away quickly with the whistling vase. The longer he looked at it, the more he wanted to toss it away. For it reminded him of how humiliated he had been in Elegant Ink Gallery. Master Bien, someone blocked his way. Looking up, Master Bien saw a wise-looking old man and an elderly steward. The steward was the one who stopped him. With an impassive face, the steward reached out to Master Bien. "I'd like to borrow that for a moment." Before Master Bien could reply, the vase was in the steward's hand. Chapter 443, You have no right to be so arrogant. The elderly steward handed the vase to his master with great respect. Taking the whistling vase, the sagacious old man pressed a palm to the base and examined it with his spiritual essence. His eyes flickered. What an impressive formation. The girl had set it up with such dexterous hands while chatting casually at the same time. Her formation skills were unfathomable. At that thought, the sagacious old man gave his steward a look. The elderly steward then tossed a bag of 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones to Master Bien. "We'll take this whistling vase. Off you go." Master Bien's eyes lit up. 1,000 low-grade spiritual stones was a considerable amount for him and he was more than happy to trade this lousy vase for that much money. Sure, of course, Master Bien agreed right away. The sagacious old man smirked as he watched Master Bien leave. What a fool. Master. The old steward grimaced. I think Miss Feng was going to send a message to his master with that vase. As it turned out, Master Bien was unlucky that way and had sold off such a precious vase just like that. Xiao Wu. Outside Elegant Ink Gallery, Chaoga took Feng Wu's hand and her eyes glistened with tears. Xiao Wu, I knew it. You're the best. You turned things around all by yourself, you surprised everyone, and you totally defeated Mr. Mo. Even Master Bien had to admit his failure and run away. Oh my god, Xiao Wu, you're awesome. Feng Wu looked at her childhood friend. The girl used to be a little more than skin and bones, but now. Before Feng Wu could ask about it, Yi Yifei spoke. Feng Wu, that was unexpected. I didn't know you had such sharp eyes. Leaning against a column outside Elegant Ink Gallery's entrance, Yi Yifei looked Feng Wu up and down. Although, appraising antiques and repairing them is all that you can do now, right? What else can you do? Can you cultivate? You're still a useless cripple. Shut up. Seeing Feng Wu being insulted made Duan Chaoga feel more infuriated than being humiliated herself. Her chest heaved with anger. Feng Wu patted Duan Chaoga on the shoulder, then turned to Yi Yifei with a calm face. Yi Yifei hadn't learned anything from her failed attempt to frame Chaoga. Feng Wu had already forgotten about the girl, but she just wouldn't go away. Since Yi Yifei was so eager to have her face slapped again, Feng Wu was happy to oblige. Miss Yi, how can I help you? Feng Wu glanced at her. It's nothing, really. I only have one question for you. Do you still remember Zhuo Qingwan, the girl who was less capable than you back then? The girls and boys behind Yi Yifei roared with laughter at those words. Zhuo Qingwan was also born with true phoenix blood, but back then, she was nowhere near as famous as Feng Wu and hardly anyone knew about her. Have you heard? Zhuo Qingwan is already a spiritual elder now, said Yi Yifei. Whereas you, well, you don't have a speck of spiritual essence. How could you bring yourself to come back to the imperial capital at all? I would have hung myself if I were you, instead of asking to be humiliated here. Shut up. Chaoga felt so sorry for Feng Wu and she believed that Xiao Wu could only feel even more upset. She tried to jump at Yi Yifei, but Feng Wu stopped her. Duan Chaoga, you have no right to be so arrogant. Yi Yifei looked bemused. She then pointed at Feng Wu. Do you think Feng Wu will be able to protect you like she did when you were little? Even if she wants to, can she? Xiao Wu is the best. I won't allow you to insult her like this. Chaoga was so enraged that the rims of her eyes turned red. Chapter 444, World Tower. Xiao Wu, let's go. Chaoga took Feng Wu's hand and wanted to leave. These people weren't worth talking to. Duan Chaoga, where are you going? Yi Yifei stared at Chaoga with a half-smile and stopped the latter in a casual tone. Didn't you agree to work as my maid for the day? You still have 2 more hours to go. Feng Wu turned to Chaoga in bewilderment. Chaoga almost burst into tears, but she managed to fight them back. She said to Feng Wu, Xiao Wu, you can go back. I'll catch up with you later. She could handle the humiliation, but she wouldn't let Xiao Wu be insulted like that. Feng Wu shook her head with a wry smile. She knew perfectly well what was going on in Chaoga's head, and because of that, she wouldn't stand there and let Chaoga be bullied. Chaoga would be even more humiliated if she was asked about her weight in front of these people, so Feng Wu turned to Yi Yifei. What do you want? She knew that she was Yi Yifei's real target, not Chaoga. Miss Feng Wu, that's very smart of you. Yi Yifei gloated and gestured with a wave of her hand. Follow me. The other boys and girls with Yi Yifei all giggled in satisfaction. Feng Wu used to be famous as His Royal Highness's one-time fiancé. Hence, humiliating her felt exceptionally satisfying. Sister Yifei, where are we going? Hui Yin, Yi Yifei's minion, asked in excitement. Yi Yifei showed them an ornamental plate. Wait, that's an entrance card for World Tower, said Hui Yin in an agitated tone. And it's the one to the 6th floor. That's right, Yi Yifei said in a matter-of-fact tone. It belongs to my father and he can enter the 6th floor with it. However, the owner's children have to move a floor down, so we can only go as high as the 5th floor. The 5th floor. Wenling, another of Yi Yafei's minions, pressed her hands to her chest. World Tower is so hard to get into. Even the first floor requires a person to be a 7th-ranked official or the owner of a medium-sized business. Hua Yin added, plus, the entrance card only applies to immediate family. Uncles can't lend theirs to their nieces. She gave Feng Wu a contemptuous glance when she said those words. Feng Yanfeng, a 3rd-ranked official, held the highest position in the Feng clan. Unfortunately, he was Feng Wu's uncle, not father. Let's go. Yi Yafei had come up with a number of ways to make Feng Wu miserable. She hadn't said anything for a couple of minutes because she was trying to decide which method she would use first. Or, should she use them all at once? Seeing that Feng Wu was going to follow the group, Chaoga tugged at her sleeve in a hurry. Xiao Wu, don't. Feng Wu tilted her head and looked at Chaoga. Chaoga shook her head repeatedly. However, Feng Wu only smiled at her. Why not? Let's go. Yi Yafei darted a contemptuous look at Feng Wu. Poor yokel. If only you knew that His Royal Highness is the owner of World Tower. She could foresee a party where everyone would have so much fun humiliating Feng Wu. Yi Yafei presented her plate at the entrance to World Tower. Miss Yi, welcome to Dancing Floor. Each of World Tower's floors had its own name, and the 5th was known as Dancing Floor. A teenage girl with lithe and graceful movements led them all the way up to Dancing Floor. World Tower was as incredible as it was said to be. The head waitress was exceptionally attractive and looked as pretty as Yi Yafei and the other young ladies. However, despite how pretty she was, no one dared to take liberties with her. Even flirtatious words were off limits. Chapter 445, Inky Rain. Because this was World Tower. His Royal Highness's World Tower. Yi Yafei frowned. Yenyu, is Moon Room taken? Yenyu nodded slightly. Yes. What about Pine? That's taken as well. Yenyu glanced at Yi Yafei. Inky Rain is the only left. Miss Yi, are you going to take it? World Tower was the only place that dared to treat its customers in this manner. Yi Yafei had put on airs in front of Feng Wu, but she couldn't even raise her voice to a waitress of World Tower. The person behind World Tower was simply too powerful for anyone to defy. Inky Rain Room. The private room was as wide as several hundred square meters. Tables were set on the left side and customers could entertain themselves however they wanted. Rush cushions were scattered around on the floor on the right side of the room and a painting known as Inky Rain hung on the wall. Other than those, there was nothing on that side of the room. The right side was as tranquil as it was boisterous on the left side. The left side was for mundane activities and the right for cultivation. The difference was as stark as yin and yang. Let's eat. We'll go study Inky Rain afterward. Yi Yafei gestured at her friends to sit down. Her gaze shifted to Chaoga and she was going to ask Chaoga to stand behind her like a maid, but Feng Wu acted first and pressed Chaoga down in a chair. Chaoga, take a seat. Yi Yafei smirked. She hadn't even started yet. Well, sit all you want. Let's see how long you can keep your seat. Feng Wu and Chaoga sat at one corner of the table. Yi Yafei was enjoying her conversation with her friends. They were obviously shutting out Feng Wu and Chaoga, but Feng Wu couldn't care less. Sister Yafei, you said you were going to tell us great news. What is it? Hua Yin played along. Yi Yafei glanced at Feng Wu with a gloating smile. It's not settled yet, but I'm sure I'll get that manor. Which manor? Wen Ling asked curiously. Well, I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that Zhuo Qinghuan told me about it in a letter. She said that the manor had great feng shui and was perfect for cultivation. So, she said she had to have it. So, you're not buying it, but Sister Zui is? Lu Hao asked in excitement when he heard Zhuo Qinghuan's name. That's right. It's going to be Sister's Wa's house and I'm only buying it on her behalf. Yi Yifei switched to a mysterious tone. Can you guess which manor it is? Which one? All her friends asked curiously. Feng Wu, aren't you curious? Yi Yifei stared at Feng Wu with a half-smile. Grand Secretary Feng's manor was right next to the Feng manor and only a wall away from Feng Wu's fallen star yard. How angry and scared would Feng Wu be if she knew that Zhuo Qingwan was going to become her next-door neighbor? Yi Yifei was greatly satisfied by the thought. Who could have expected that the haughty, aloof Feng Wu would one day live under such conditions? Ha ha ha. Feng Wu glanced at Yi Yifei casually. Nope. Ha. Yi Yifei snorted. You'll cry your eyes out after the purchase goes through. Feng Wu shrugged indifferently. However, she was secretly alarmed. Feng Wu had thought that Yi Yifei was the other bidder and hadn't taken the competition too seriously. But Zhuo Qingwan? If that was the case, would Feng Sun be influential enough? Should she ask for Lady Northern Feng instead? Feng Wu pondered the matter. Then, Yi Yifei and her friends. Chapter 446, The Marvelous Feng Wu. Feng Wu, aren't you a little bit worried about what you did in Elegant Ink Gallery? Seeing that Feng Wu was unaffected by the mention of Zhuo Qingwan, Yi Yifei brought up young Master Mu instead. Why should I be? Feng Wu said lightheartedly. Yi Yifei snorted. Young Master Mu owns the eastern side of the city and he's on friendly terms with people from both the legal and lawless worlds. Even the governor of the imperial capital addresses him as Young Master Mu, with great respect. Mentioning your connection with young Master Mu can get you out of any trouble on the eastern side of the city. He's the boss behind Elegant Ink Gallery. Feng Wu, you've just offended him. Lu Hao frowned. I met young Master Mu once. He's about our age, but why is he doing so much better than us? Mu Qing said, he has a father who is a lord. Do you? Lu Hao rubbed his chin. You have a point. I guess a lot of things are decided before you're even born. Yi Yifei snapped, it has nothing to do with his family. That title is the only thing Lord Mu has and there's very little he can do to help his son. Young Master Mu's 5 older brothers are as ordinary as the next guy, and the only reason he's doing so well is because... Yi Yifei dropped her voice to a whisper. It's because he's young Lord Feng's friend. Young Lord Feng. Sister Yifei, are you referring to young Lord Feng Sun? Hua Yin and Wen Ling exchanged looks and both saw excitement in each other's eyes. As in young Lord Feng, the most famous playboy of the imperial capital? Lu Hao was equally excited. Yi Yifei nodded. That's right. Young Lord Feng is so well connected. Hua Yin and Wen Ling were very interested in Feng Sun and they immediately asked, what's young Lord Feng like? Is he handsome? Yi Yifei didn't know Feng Sun that well and she had only met young Master Mu a few times. Friends of the Crown Prince didn't socialize with commoners like Yi Yifei. However, Yi Yifei assumed an enigmatic air. Of course he's handsome. He's one of the handsome 4 of the imperial capital and he can be nothing but stunning. Feng Wu was busy eating her meal while rolling her eyes inwardly. Stunning my ass. Even a pig looked better than little Feng Sun's bruised face. Wow. Hua Yin and Wen Ling were impressed. Young Lord Feng must be so smart and so wise. Yi Yifei nodded repeatedly. Of course. Young Lord Feng is so smart that he can do anything. Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Sun. So smart? There would be no idiots left in this world if that goofball could be considered smart. Is young Lord Feng very capable in his cultivation? Yes. He's incredible. I heard that his capability is unfathomable. Feng Wu thought, your unfathomable, young Lord Feng is probably getting beaten to a pulp by Jun Linyuan as you speak. Feng Wu put down her chopsticks. The intelligent, capable, invincible Feng Sun these people were talking about didn't sound like the same Feng Sun she knew. Young Lord Feng is too superior for us to even fantasize about. What about young Master Mu? Then, Yi Yafei started lavishing praise on Mu the Sixth. Feng Wu couldn't take it anymore. She led Chaoga to the other side of the room to look at inky rain. She couldn't leave for another 2 hours and she had to find something for her and Chaoga to do. Give me your hand. After sitting Chaoga down on a rush cushion, Feng Wu took another one and sat down next to her. Feng Wu was as excellent a doctor as she always was. Examining Chaoga closely, she drew her conclusions in less than 5 minutes. Chapter 447, Who poisoned you? Do you gain weight even from drinking water? Feng Wu asked. Yes. Chaoga felt like crying when the subject was brought up. Xiao Wu, I'm not a glutton. There was this time when I starved myself for 3 days, but afterward, I weighed 3 kilograms more. How can such a horrible thing happen? In the past few years, every time I went on a diet, I ended up gaining more weight. Sometimes I feel that there's no point in living like this. Chaoga had been living in a nightmare in the past 5 years since Feng Wu left. And you made no progress in your cultivation. Not only that, your cultivation level has dropped. Feng Wu frowned. Xiao Wu, Chaoga burst into tears. I don't know why, but after you left, instead of making any progress every time I cultivated, my level would drop. In the end, I just stopped altogether, for the harder I tried, the faster I slid backward. It was horrible. Am I cursed? Chaoga had been living under a lot of stress. Things wouldn't be so bad if her family was a peaceful and warm one, but hers was like a battlefield, and more drama went on there than in the Feng manor. It's not a curse, but a poison. Feng Wu fought back her anger. It's known as degenerative powder, which not only makes you gain weight, but causes your cultivation level to drop. That sounds like such a potent poison, but who would do that to me? Chaoga asked in confusion. Feng Wu's eyes flashed. You came to see me off before I left the imperial capital. Did you drink anything that day? Well, Chaoga might forget a lot of things, but she remembered every moment she spent with Feng Wu. I remember that I was thirsty and I saw a bowl of water on your table, so I drank it. Was it sweet and sour and tasted like almond? Yes. Chaoga cried out. Xiao Wu, how do you know that? If I'm guessing right, it was meant for me. Feng Wu closed her eyes. If Chaoga hadn't drunk it, either her beautiful mother or herself would have. What? Chaoga couldn't bring herself to imagine Xiao Wu as a butterball the way she was now. I'm so glad that I drank it instead. I'm so glad that I drank it instead. Feng Wu took a deep breath. After suffering from the poison for 5 years, the first thing Chaoga said when she learned the truth wasn't a complaint, but that she was glad that she had taken Feng Wu's place as the victim. Feng Wu felt so blessed to have such a good friend. Don't worry. I have the antidote for it, Feng Wu said in a solemn tone. Chaoga beamed at her. I know Xiao Wu can do it. Nothing in this world could stop Xiao Wu. That was how confident Chaoga was about Feng Wu. Feng Wu gave Chaoga a wry smile. With so many people she needed to protect, she had no choice but to work harder and become stronger. With a wave of Feng Wu's hand, a dot of pale green light entered Chaoga's forehead between her eyebrows. Feng Wu let out a breath of relief when she saw Chaoga begin to absorb that dot of light. Looking up, Feng Wu observed inky rain hanging on the wall. It was a painting of inky dots splattered all over a piece of white paper and there didn't seem to be a pattern to them. Those two are so dumb. Seeing Feng Wu and Chaoga sitting in front of inky rain in a trance-like state, Yi Yafei spoke in a taunting voice. Chapter 448, Senior Brother Jun Lin Yuan. They haven't received enlightenment, have they? Hua Yin was concerned. Wen Ling said grumpily, Feng Wu has lost her abilities, hasn't she? Her making progress in cultivation? Are you kidding me? What about Duan Chaoge? Hua Yin looked alarmed. 5 years ago, Chaoge used to follow Feng Wu everywhere and she was a genius herself as well. She was that close to the spiritual grandmaster stage even then. That was true. Feng Wu had been brilliant 5 years ago and Chaoge, her friend, was also a well-known figure. Duan Chaoge had been qualified to enter Imperial College when she was only 8. How talented she must have been. Yi Yifei smirked. Feng Wu is a cripple and Duan Chaoge's cultivation level has continued to drop. So what if they see something in Inky Rain? Do you think they'll be able to make any progress? Ha 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 ha, everyone looked at the pair of girls in contempt. Hua Yin frowned. Although, that Inky Rain is so difficult to read. How are we supposed to learn anything from it? I've looked at it 100 times and I still don't get it, let alone been enlightened. It makes my head dizzy every time. Wen Ling nodded. That's right. I thought I could use it to improve my cultivation level a little before the entrance exam for Imperial College. That way, I'd have a better chance of getting in. Sister Yifei is so awesome. She got in last year already. Of these teenagers, Yi Yifei was the only one who had gotten into Imperial College. Yi Yifei said, "You've all become level 9 spiritual masters after shoring up your cultivation for a year. Don't worry. I'm sure all of you will get in this time." Hua Yin took Yi Yifei's arm. Sister Yifei, can you talk us through the entrance exam of Imperial College? Yi Yifei said grumpily, haven't you guys taken the exam once already? I know you all failed last year, but have you forgotten all about it already? Fine, I'll talk you through it. She said in a gloating yet reluctant voice, the entrance examination of Imperial College has a literary component and a martial component. The total score is 1000, with the literary component taking up 300 and the martial component 700. Only the top 1000 candidates for the literary exam will qualify to take the martial exam. You all still remember that? Yes. Everyone nodded. Yi Yifei said, you know what? You know all this already. Here's what I have for you, get into Imperial College and you'll find a brand new world. Your life will be lifted to a whole new level. You may find the most unattainable figures there as your classmates. Imperial College's essence gathering formation is immensely helpful for your cultivation. Everyone is ranked at Imperial College, and you'll be motivated to work harder by all the competitors. Most important of all, young Lord Feng is a nominal student of Imperial College. Even His Royal Highness, the respected Crown Prince of our empire, is a nominal student of Imperial College. We address him as senior brother in private. Wow! The others covered their mouths in excitement. His Royal Highness. His Royal Highness. That's right. Yi Yifei nodded. Of course, we only use it among ourselves and His Royal Highness will only ignore us if we address him like that in front of him. But at least, that's quite an intimate form of address, isn't it? I have to get into Imperial College this year. Eyes sparkling, Hua Yin made a fist. The others did the same. To them, the Crown Prince and his friends were too out of reach. Chapter 449, Xiao Wu is incredible. Feng Wu frowned. Those people were so loud. As she stared at Inky Rain, the dots splattered all over the paper seemed to turn into tadpoles, which made her dizzy and she had to turn her gaze away. But Feng Wu found a pattern before long. She realized that staring at the entire painting would make her head swim. However, if she focused on a single dot, it would begin to expand and she could see something resembling a film reel in that dot. In it, a man was performing swordplay. That was it. This Inky Rain contained a set of stances known as Inky Rain Swordplay. Once she figured that out, Feng Wu began to search for the right sequence to the stances. There were 36 stances in total and they were scattered randomly throughout the painting. Soon, Feng Wu figured out the right order. Found anything yet? Feng Wu asked Chaoge, who was staring at the painting with a blank face. Chaoge turned to Feng Wu in bewilderment. No. They were just inky blobs, weren't they? And someone just splashed them everywhere, hadn't they? What more was she supposed to find in the painting? Chaoge thought she was going to get a headache. Feng Wu was speechless. Seeing Feng Wu's frown, Yi Yifei thought that the latter was angry because she couldn't figure out the painting. She snorted. The most important reason why people go crazy over World Tower is the existence of these paintings in the private rooms. It's said that each painting is a manual for a set of martial art stances. Those who can figure them out will greatly benefit from them. If one gets an epiphany in World Tower because of the paintings on the wall, they'll be rewarded by World Tower. Moreover, they stand a chance of being recruited by the Imperial Guards and becoming His Royal Highness's personal guard. There was a person who had an epiphany in Moon Room next door and got into the Imperial Guards after being evaluated by the General of the Imperial Guards. Oh God, His Royal Highness's personal guard. Hua Yin and the others covered their mouths and cried out in surprise. Working for His Royal Highness was something they didn't even dare to imagine. If I can see His Royal Highness once in my life with my own eyes, I'll die with a smile on my face. Hua Yin took a deep breath. Yi Yifei thought grumpily, I want the same thing, okay? I'd totally pass out if I can see His Royal Highness. Feng Wu smacked her forehead, speechless. These people just wouldn't shut up. How annoying. She could only whisper something in Chaoge's ear. Chaoge's eyes lit up. Really? Is that true? Feng Wu nodded. I've suppressed the degenerative powder toxin in your body. What you need to do now is improve your cultivation, transform the toxin into spiritual energy, and use it for yourself. That way, you'll make progress very soon. Having been suppressed for so many years, Chaoge would make a frightening leap in her cultivation once she made progress. Chaoge nodded in excitement. Yes. Yes. She felt much closer to Feng Wu than to her biological sisters at home. Feng Wu had saved her life when she was little and Chaoge had made up her mind then, as long as she lived, she would do anything for Feng Wu. She knew it. Xiao Wu was incredible. Xiao Wu was the best. Xiao Wu had solved the problem that had nagged Chaoge for years as if it was nothing. Xiao Wu had to be a fairy who had descended to the moral world, one that could turn stone into gold, Chaoge thought cheerfully to herself. Seeing that Feng Wu had closed her eyes and entered a state of meditation, Chaoge closed her eyes as well. She had lost track of time when, hey, Duan Chaoge, are you really cultivating now? Aren't you afraid that your level is going to drop again? Yi Yifei smacked Chaoge's shoulder with an open palm as she spoke. Just then. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.